around the Badang, Lapu, Juicin, and Fred. Let's go, bring it in Naisu to call game number 1.
Thanks so much to the panel here. Yes, it's me, Naisu, and Brigida to bring you the action. It's our first quarterfinal match of today, day number 2 here, of course, in the knockout stage. And it's an epic match we have ahead of us as we jump into the land of Dawn. Will it be RRQ to move on forward with redemption, or will it be SRG.OG Esports? Brigida, they've shared their thoughts over on the panel. I gotta say, I gotta lean towards the same sentiments here. I'm thinking RRQ's draft. I like it. What do you think?
I have to agree with them as well. There are just too much things that RRQ have already secured even prior to that game in terms of picks and in terms of battle spells, which will make things a lot more easier. And it does feel like Stormy was left with very little options in terms of the mid lane pick. And we put a lot of focus in terms of the mid laners in the current meta. So we'll see how SRG gets to actually pull off this entire idea. Because again, even just in terms of Purify, like Rins and Toy already have that. And they might have to bank on other ways to force it out of RRQ if they want to make the Kalei a bit more useful.
Yeah, and looking at the emblems here, nothing too crazy. A whole lot of tenacities, of course, for RRQ. They want to be able to go ahead and survive. A lot of Brave Smites. You know, they're going to rely on. Dyron's taken some damage, but that's kind of expected, too, with a Phoveus matchup there. He might need some help against Cram later on, but yeah, it's interesting because we've paid a lot of attention to the mid laners, for example, leading into MSC in general, and it's been in an interesting position. I mean, even the Zetian alone from Stormy, it's like we haven't seen this hero be maybe as useful as some people thought.
Yeah.
But she still gets picked up quite a bit, especially when you're thinking about the vision that it provides, utility as well. And once these level 4s start to come online, Cram's going to get pulled back.
Whoa, that's 4 members of RRQ actually trying to go for Cram. They force out the flicker though, so there seems to be an intention to somehow shut him down. But Sekai goes in, even using the Phantom Execution towards Rins, but he still does not decide to use the Purify.
Yeah, he doesn't have it. This turtle's up, and this is a battle for space right now. A lot of poking going on here. There's a jump in from Edok, but they just want to fight for it.
Okay, the ultimate's already committed as well. They somehow have a bit of control here, but that's the Dark Wave knocking up 2 members from RRQ. Dyren goes to the back lines though, and it's still Sekai who gets to secure everything. Razor's Wrath doesn't land onto anyone but Toy. He gets first blood. Sekai trades out to Jin, but on the top lane, Yums will be the next to fall.
Whoa, there's a fight everywhere. Sekai's in trouble too. Edok, he'll clean up the kill before going down himself. So at least amongst it all, SRG gets a double for Stormy. They also get the turtle.
I mean, we did say that the idea for SRG is somewhat utility overall, but it's nice to see them play it very aggressively despite that. I mean, even in terms of the ones who positioned themselves first in the turtle, it was just such great timing overall for RRQ because even Toy was in that fight, so who would have expected that RRQ already had that much damage, that much sources for damage. It just fell into place for them, but either way, you see how SRG is trying to attack this game, is trying to approach this game up against RRQ.
This is kind of what I expected, though. You know, I expected this matchup between these two teams to be pretty hectic in the early game. And we've already got that. And I think really when you look at both lineups, both just teams fighting out, like that's what they want to do. I almost feel like, for the most part, majority of the teams, this is how they like to play these games, especially you take in consideration, this is a best of 5. We've had plenty of best of 3s, you know, so team strategy and the way they play it might differ from game to game. But right now it's mostly objective fighting around that. We heard that from the interviews coming into this too, that, you know, for RRQ, a lot of times it's like, yeah, let's just go ahead and focus on our objectives, secure those early turtles if we can, and that's why we saw them fight for it. But of course, they've got to win that retribution battle when it comes down to it. And so what it's been a lot of is just these kind of skirmishes, these fighting. I mean, even earlier, the fact that Toy went all the way from the gold lane up to that turtle to provide that blazing duet damage was great because, I mean, with Innocent, he could have just joined the fight. Rins?
He was the first one to rotate out of his lane, but SRG are actually doing a really great job at holding this river side. Oh, Cram decides to burst or go in first. However, there's the Tsunami Slam already committed. EWC gets taken out. Sutsujin this time secures the turtle out. SLD will land on to Risen. Risen will be coming on from behind, but the back execution will be enough. Two-man knockoff coming in from the Tsunami or the Tidal Strike, but Yumes, he will not be able to sustain all that, but it might just be all worth it for SRG.
Yeah, I mean, they'll get a couple kills off it. Of course, the turtle went to RRQ, but because of the extended fight and then Innocent joining in, I mean, crazy to see how this played out. We're going to get a look at it again with the instant replay here, brought to us by STC. But I mean, look at this. This was a fight that you think RRQ is going to win. Susujin gets the turtle. But then because of the spear, I mean, this is a very slow-moving Moskov too, because this is very early on in the game. But, you know, they end up having more of that firepower in their favor, especially when you have a landslide to consider in the hands of Skies here. So it's still, I mean, either way, it's an objective trade for both of them now, 1-for-1 in the turtles, but SRG gets themselves a nice lead. A 1K lead at this point isn't anything too crazy that RRQ has to deal with, but it's starting to build up here. I think the main thing when you really break down those fights is fighting around those windows of crowd control that RRQ lineup has, but the same thing over here from SRG OG Esports. Like, they can do the same thing, but it's just playing around, for example, getting out the Tsunami Slams if it's going to be used, or EWC setting things up with the break and fist break combo that we're so used to seeing, especially when the flicker's available.
Because I think even the panelists did point out that RRQ just have so many resources that will be very beneficial for them when it comes to a team fight or a situation where SRG has to group up, especially considering that majority of the heroes of SRG, well, fortunately for their last pick, they did decide to go for the Zetian, so that gives them a little bit more of range. They literally have to coordinate and be together in order for them to maximize their potential, their capabilities. But EWC goes in with a flicker, gets to catch only Crab because Stormy still has the flicker, but the Fury of the Phoenix will be used to counter against RRQ. Yumes from behind trying to hold out some of the other members. Bravest Fighter already committed by Dyron as well. There's another fifth break catching 3, but Toy might not get to target anyone with the blazing duet. Sekai this time gets the Turtle Praetor's Wrath, lands onto Yumes. Sutsujin holding everyone down all by himself, but SRG, they might want to go for it. Fortunately, RRQ are able to run away though.
Cram just took so much damage and bought so much time for them in that fight, and then Yumes holding on to the Tsunami Slam for the right moment is what really allowed them to gain control around that last turtle of the game and win that fight. It just didn't seem like RRQ was able to go ahead and get the advantage they were looking for. You know, there was a great amount of damage from the Appraiser's Wrath from Sutsujin, but still, they weren't able to win and out. Sakai is going to be out just fine in that exchange, but what a good fight for SRG there.
All of the good initiations, you see them come in from RRQ.
Yeah.
But eventually, SRG.OG, they're just so consistent in finding ways to bounce back, to counter-engage up against this team of RRQ, up against all those potential fist break, fist crack setups we see that come in. But there's a conceal play coming in from RRQ. They don't fully commit just yet, though.
Yeah, good comms there. You know, they want to go for Innocent. Like I said, you know, leading into this, a lot of people are like, man, you know, SRG.OG Esports has this kind of tendency to just rely on Innocent to kind of lock in, pop off later on. Again, he's the only one right now with a Savage for MSC. And so if you could put some pressure there, try to delay him out a little bit, then that might be one of the game plans for RRQ, but he's protected really well. You can see he just goes down to the bottom lane now. Yumes providing so much information. He might be in trouble. Oh,
beautiful counter with the Tsunami Slam onto EWC. Now he gets immediately taken down before he gets to do anything. He was right close under the turret as well, but Toy, now with that energy eruption, they find a way to deal with Sekai's. That was a bit too dangerous up against 3 members of RRQ.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, Sakai's was like, I got this, and Toy said, no, it's all right. So this is actually probably going to get them the Lord here. There is a trade on the tier 2 turret on the bottom side, but RRQ now going for this. Oh, spear. Okay, yeah.
Oh, we've seen too much.
We've seen it too much, Brigitte. You know, you kind of hold your breath a little bit. We've seen too many Lords, too many turtles taken with the Spear Destruction from a Moskov, but RRQ gets themselves a Lord, which is going to be not too devastating, I feel like, again, but they did whittle down some of the gold that was building up here in comparison to SRG. It might help them get to the tier 2 turrets because you got to see it. They don't have any tier 1s down at all.
Yep.
You know, so they need to go ahead and start opening up the map to utilize this lineup that they have here.
Yeah, because I know for a fact that RRQ might be wanting to consistently push SRG to force them to a fight, but then SRG, the way they're dealing with it right now, was just really banking on the idea that Innocent needs to take his time, but the Lantern Flare stack will catch on to Sekai's once again. Fortunately, gets to dash away with the puncture. There's a beautiful knock-up coming in from Humes as well. They commit the Tsunami Slam onto Sutsujin, but on the other side of the map, Sekai is doing a great job as well, zoning out or actually dealing the damage towards the Tankist members, but he gets traded down too.
Toys coming to the fight. He's trying to set up the Blazing Duet, but he gets hit into the wall. He finally gets it off. He'll take down one, forces the flicker from Stormy. What a fight in the mid lane. Lord finally goes down. So after it all, they get all tier 1 turrets that they need, except the mid one.
So it does seem like SRG, despite the presence of the Lord, really wanted to force that fight, be the ones to set things up this time around, but then that caused them a turret, that caused them a bit of casualties here and there. So fortunately, Innocent was there to actually deal with it, but this is where you see that SRG, sometimes they tend to make these very bold decisions too.
Hey, we love these slow motion. Oh, Enoch! That wasn't slow motion. Enoch's taken out.
Okay, another Tsunami Slam will be committed onto Sutsujin. It seems like he's always the target. Now he gets caught. Innocent with the double kill once again, but Graham gets traded out. Humes doesn't get to jump away. And now Sekai's in too deep with the execution. Might get the kill on Toy, and he's actually able to get the kill.
Oh my goodness, what a turnaround! And it was the same thing. Innocent comes in with a Spear Destruction. Dyron might get sandwiched into here. He's trying to get back to the mid lane, but Innocent's just like, I'm taking this turret. They win that fight. And I mean, look at all the bodies right there. And that choke point is not where you want to be. Good close up to it too. Because that was a fight that's looking one way and then it quickly turns the other. And I guess that's the way it works when you have a Lancelot and then a Mozkov that can work in conjunction with each other here. So you're getting to that point now where a lot of the teams, once they get this, 12-minute plus, Innocent's got most of the items that he needs, he's starting to be a big threat. Not only that though, but if you throw so much at a Lancelot, trying to catch him, you can buy like these windows of opportunity with a Thorn Rose, with a Phantom Execution. Oh. There it is.
Another surprise engage. Fury of the Phoenix as well committed just to follow up, but the damage coming in from RRQ! It just seems too much. Toy doing a great job at dealing damage. Innocent all alone up against 4, and he won't be able to handle it anymore.
Oh, that was such a good kind of fight back from RRQ. Sekai's is still up. He might still try to delay them. It's only Innocent and Cram that are down. So as the 3 are still alive from SRG.OG Esports, they can actually delay this and stop them from taking the Lord here.
Oh my goodness.
That's what they're going to do. They might just get a tier 1 in the mid lane for RRQ. They could start this up, but by that time, Innocent could join this fight with a Spear of Destruction. Cram's already back up, so they'll do everything they can to stop this out. And this has been such a pendulum swinging game of back and forth that you can't clearly say RRQ's got this Lord. SRG will fight it out too. So now with everybody back up, they're ready to fight for the Lord here.
Yeah, they gotta be cautious. They gotta manage the waves down bottom first. And also be wary of the threat of a potential steal away from the last one. But they burst down the Lord. No steals whatsoever are going to happen. There's the Blazing Duet once again coming in, however, and it deals enough damage against SRG. They're trying to chase after them. Lantern Flares coming in from Riz, but will he be able to catch up? Innocent, Humes, and Stormy, they're just able to walk away.
As I said, Brugada, it's a pendulum for game number 1, swinging back and forth. Yeah, the Lord went to SRG, but they lost 2 bodies off of that. So this could be cleared out, but this is also the power of a Mozkov. Innocent rolls right up top, takes the tier 2 as well, because he knows RRQ's got to deal with this. Whoa, he throws the spear down, but he knows Susujin's there as well. So this is, and he's actually going to transfer on down.
Whoa. That is a very brave move, and now with the Blazing Duet, Innocent bursted down. Riz gets the final blow as well, but will he be able to keep himself safe? He will. It's a double for Riz lands on the Jushin.
Hey, I guess they decided let's just go for it. I'm surprised he followed through, but he did have some information that at least Yums was there. But man, both Wind and Nature's coming in clutch. Toy picks up a Malefic Gun now. This is still an even pretty much game across the board. Both teams really close in terms of turrets that they have, but RRQ is going to want to start to go ahead and have these better fights. I mean, a lot of the fights are started up from Yums. Anytime he has a flicker, even if he doesn't, he can kind of just jump on in, Tsunami slam someone, and force RRQ to fight. And there has been some close calls where it's like, you know, oh boy.
Okay. Not even the orange buff comes for free.
Sakai's, he should get out.
He should, and find a way to try and get out, but that's 4 members that'll try to pin him down. They definitely do not want to allow him to escape, and that's how many seconds at least. He will make it in time though, but
yeah,
I feel like those are things you should not be doing anymore if you want to, like, just hold on to whatever lead you had. And I said had because
it's gone.
It's gone.
They had one, but jumps on in.
There's a passive though.
Oh,
but it still doesn't keep Stormy safe. Yums might get bursted down next. Another double from Rins. Literally trying to work on that redemption that we've been talking about. At least Innocent is still there though, so they have ways to clear the waves, but RRQ, they'll just go in and take this turret away from SRG.
Do they still want to fight this? They're going to jump on in the mid lane anyway.
Oh, Energy Eruption used onto Sakai, but they go after Crab instead. Innocent trying to deal with the other members, but it seems like they do not care about the damage.
This has been a compounding consequence for SRG.OG Esports. It started earlier on with that Spear Destruction choosing to fight, then Sakai's being in that side of the jungle around the orange buff, and now getting punished here. They lose the base turret. RRQ's swung 3.5k in their favor, and the Lord is up. They're feeling confident about this. They'll start it up. SRG's going to get in position here. They will force this again, probably with you, but they're going to get caught here.
They find a target, and it's gonna be Yums. Sakai's trying to find a kill onto Rins. Fury of the Phoenix will not land though. Jet Energy Eruption will be used towards Sakai's. Edok is there as well to put some pressure, but that does not completely stop Sakai's from trying to contest. There's Edok too, once again, trying to block the way though. But will Sakai's find another route? Oh, the Fist Crab actually lands onto him. Jet changes target.
What the setup right there, but Innocent's pushing the base anyway. He's going for Rins. He's gonna be stopped. It's a 1v1. He throws the Spear Destruction and he'll get Rins anyway. Pops the Wind of Nature, going against Edok. He has the damage. He picks up 2.
That was a close call. Wind of Nature, SOD. All means just to escape, even the Purify. But then he gets taken down now, more than ever, when he's needed the most by his team.
They can buy themselves 25 seconds here. Innocent will be back up for this. SRG has to delay this Lord push as much as possible. It was such a good juggle from RRQ. They dealt with Sakai's so much, zoning him out from the Lord. Innocent pushes, he gives the call. He's up in 10, and they'll have to stall this out. Some of the base turrets might fall here, depending on how RRQ plays this out. But right now, SRG is okay. They'll deal with the Lord, they'll deal with some of the pressure, but they bought themselves enough time to stay in the game.
The pendulum is becoming too real for this game, and mind you, we're already at how many kills? Like, if you do the math, 26 plus 19, that's like...
quick maths.
That's, I don't wanna...
35. Wait, no.
No. Wait, see, this is how it affects our brain.
That's 45. That's
how unlimited clashes actually affect our brain. BMI out from Toy. Okay, just to escape the Phantom Execution, so you have to respect the wave clear and the damage coming in from SRG.
Is your brain okay, Brina?
I hope so.
I hope everybody watching this one, their brain is okay, because if it's 5 games of this... That's going to be intense. Conceal's going to be used. Edok will lead in charge here.
Ooh.
Will get stopped with the Dark Wave in his tracks. So right now, this composition is paying dividends here for SRG.OG Esports. Like, they're able to stay in this. They're able to go ahead and clear things out relatively well and quickly. And it's actually pretty difficult for RRQ to start up a fight. If they have to do anything, it's on EWC. He has to use that conceal like we just saw him, or, you know, flicker on in and set things up. But that's why the majority of this game has all been a decision from SRG. They've been the ones starting the fights. They've been the ones choosing that that route. And clearly that can work for them. But I feel like even for RRQ, you got to start to transition to be like, all right, how do we make sure we don't get just like pushed off the map, be it from Innocent? Because with that base turret down now, that's something they can play into. Good thing the Lord is on that side and not the opposite side, so that alleviates some of the pressure. Oh,
But even in just the orange buff, they decide to pick a fight. EWC gets bursted down, however, Immortality already popped, and Eyes will be able to find the kill on the Did! But Toy might just save the game for RRQ. Deals enough damage with Blazing to it once again. There's the stun coming in from Dyron. They go for Crab this time around, but Innocent is just chasing after every single member of RRQ, but still, they find a way. Another bravest fighter in!
And they go in, they get the slam on down as well. Innocent, Immortality's still gonna be popped. He finally goes down from Rids, and RRQ pushes and pulls their way to win this team fight. They'll get the wipeout.
EWC trusted his ability to sustain and get a shield. And now it's RRQ who prevails in game number 1.
The whole story here was the back and forth, a pendulum for both teams. And this time around, RRQ gets game number 1. What a phenomenal match 1 in this best of 5. Again, if we get 5 games of this, I think we'll all go home happy. But this is a close one, Brigitte. I mean, both teams look so good there.
That was too close. I mean, you would think that RRQ would be the ones who were in a little more riskier position since they forced the fight close to SRG.OG's base in a situation where they could have possibly had an easier way out to regroup or re-engage, but the way RRQ was just able to sustain all that, find the right timings to go in, especially for Toy. I must say, the timings Toy had using the Blazing Duet saved the team fights for RRQ multiple times.
Not only that, but Dyron. Like Dyron, even in that last fight, I mean, he was doing this all game, but this was a Lapu game of crazy proportions. Even that last fight, he had to be the guy a lot of times tanking up a lot of damage, getting stuns off, even doing a decent amount of damage here. So between him, EWC, and Susagen, they were really able to go ahead and allow the team fights to be the way that they were. It was a great thing, you know, you see from the highlights over here overall in game 1, and it was just a I mean a lot of the micro decisions that were made on both sides, I feel like we're good, but I would say that SRG.OG Esports made more mistakes here. And that seems to be, of course, the case of the game, right? The team that makes more of those mistakes is usually going to lose the game.
And it's weird because I feel like all those mistakes were magnified whenever they were clearly in the lead. So that's like for majority of the first few minutes, no, not even, like the mid portions of the game where it feels like individually SRG kept doing things away from the other members of their team, away from their teammates. So I feel like those are questions we might get answers later on. Yeah,
well, maybe the panel can answer that for us. We're going to throw it back over to Redmar and our boys on the panel.
Thank you so much, Brigitte and Naisu. Well, as expected, RRQ, much better draft, easier to pull off, but SRG fought back until they realized the biggest problem that we acknowledged by the end of the draft, the damage output coming out of RRQ is just way too much.
Yeah, I think not just the damage output, Toy was able to come online, but for me, top 5 players of the match, Dyron. The guy was a monster, and even though SRG throughout the beginning of the match was able to kind of check RRQ, there was one player they weren't able to check the whole game.
Yeah, if Dyron doesn't get the MVP, I don't know what to say, right? Like, he came out swinging from the gates. He was the only person who was walking out of the mid game with any sort of lead whatsoever, second to only Toy, and even then it was by a very small margin. The only other person in terms of raw execution that was doing well was EWC. So it's wild how crazy and how close the margins were.
Yeah, if you remember Lapu Lapu, if he gets to snowball very quickly, he's the hero that shines in longer engages. As the game went on, you saw that SRG were able to drag things out in terms of team fights because Innocent was also staying alive. But then Dyron's happy. At one point behind the scenes, Trex exclaimed, "What the heck is that cooldown?" He just kept getting his bravest fighter so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, in the matter of a fight 2 times, and he saved the second one for a bit farther into the fight. So, I mean, it's definitely insane. And without Dyron, I don't think RRQ would have been able to pull through on that series.
I agree. I think that, overall, Toy was playing a strong game. His first item power spike honestly felt when he got the Trinity, and as soon as he got the wand where we saw his initial win over some pretty, I want to say overextensions from the side of Innocent, but he's doing it at a time where technically there's nothing to fight over in the map, and the Lord was kind of walking down on bottom side. Overall, this match was a lot closer than what most people would imagine, right? It was about how close can you execute, and really how much value can the mid laners get out of their spells.
Yeah, it was 51 kills in 20 minutes and 36 seconds. It was definitely a close game because you also got to see SRG recalibrate a bit, and at some point they were just like, okay, these team fights are a struggle for us. Let's just see if we can get Sekai's to get the Lord, get Innocent to split push, which was unfortunately just checked really well by RRQ. Real quick though, I want to look at the Sekai's here. Do you think this was more of a, he had way more mistakes than he had good moments for Sekai's, or was EDOC and even Susujin just checking him way too good?
I wouldn't even say that. I don't know. I don't think Sekai's made too many mistakes. In the beginning of the game, I was literally honoring him with how well he was sticking close to his team, even though he was Assassin, playing around Innocent. SRG played their composition very well. Better than what I thought their draft was going to do, honestly.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I think this is one of the few examples of an MLBB game that is by far the most exciting because both sides understood what their compositions wanted to do, and trading is a top priority. You never kind of want to walk away saying, oh, I lost 3 for 2, right? You always want to be 1 for 1, 50-50 every single time you engage your opponent.
Well, these two teams have set the bar not only for the series, but I feel like for the day with that monster 51 kill game in game number 1. RRQ or SRG, let's see what adjustments will be made when we come back from the break for game number 2.
When the world of business is constantly changing, you need to stay ahead. So what about AI to generate new possibilities? Machine learning to predict what customers will like. Or expand your business by forecasting delivery routes with real-time data. With the power of the cloud, imagine how AWS can transform your business.
Welcome back to the panel here at the Mid-Season Cup 2025 of the Esports World Cup. Still here with Renmar, Gideon, and Trex. And before we head on over and continue this series, we kind of need a bit more info and context as to how RRQ and SRG ended up together. Let's watch this.
Innocent. So against RRQ, what do you think?
It's like with other teams, it's normal. We just need to prepare for them.
Our strategy, maybe it's for SRG. For strategy, I think you need to ask my coach. Let's go. Bang, di interview, kenapa pick SRG?
SRG requested.
No, it's lie, he lying.
So Jin, what's happening now?
Oh, now we are doing device setup. Nggak boleh kepo lah, rahasia.
No, why cannot?
Rahasianya kami akan main. Nice.
We're doing the rehearsal, guys, because so we know what we're gonna do in the match day.
Can you bring me around?
Yes, let's go. And this one is Innocent.
Your manager.
Say hi. And our manager, guys. Yes. And this one is Sky Twins, the last season MVP. I think that's all, guys.
Well, this is something cool.
This is our key, and we have different than others because we are the defending champion, right? So we have the crown in the middle. Good, right?
Shut up him. To perfect the storyline, we need to win. Confident can win.
Ya, insyaAllah dengan doa-doa korang, kita orang boleh menang. Can you?
Semoga dimudahkan.
Amin.
For Yums, do your best and let's give a good match.
The beast at the gate is Innocent. And in that game number 1, though he did have a fantastic game, he was somewhat tamed by RRQ. Or dare I say a little bit more control. They weren't able to completely rein Innocent in.
Yeah, no, at least coming into this game, I'm a little more excited for it because it looks like Toy is up for the challenge. He's ready to go toe-to-toe in lane against Innocent and even during team fights.
Yeah, and what's interesting about Toy is it seems like a much more controlled aggression. And not saying that Innocent's out-of-control aggression is bad. It's where we get to see those saves that we saw on that Lord right before that Lord push. Something that completely put SRG, kept them in the game for a bit longer there. But I think Toy is definitely ready for this.
It's a stat check, it's to keep RRQ in play.
Yeah, and if you want to be a beast in Game 2, similar to our players, you can go ahead and grab the MSC 2025 pass. Again, it's only available up until August 7th. It's 20% off for the entire period. Don't forget to get Nathan's new Archon of Knowledge skin, one of my favorite MSC skins that we've ever released. And you can also get MSC coins, the battle mode, the returning skin of Atlas, the Jawhead Space Explorer skin, and many more rewards. You do not want to miss out on that. All right, so drafts for game number 2. We were unanimous that RRQ drafted a much easier lineup to pull off. SRG kept up with them mechanically, but I think now the focus shifts away from the center of the map. You're really gonna have to look now at what Dyron ends up with and how well Cram, with his pick, can stop Dyron from doing what Dyron does.
I want to agree with you, but at the same time, what it really boils down to is whether or not the mid is going to get affected because of Dyron on the other side. Look at this quote from Rins.
Yeah, he did mention that during M6 that he wasn't completely in the zone. There were a few things that was sort of bothering him, but now in that game number 1, it really didn't look like it. He was very confident on that juice in.
Cut to Innocent, taking him out right at the base.
Fair enough, but that's Innocent things, man. Innocent can do no wrong right now. But I want to touch on what you said, Renmar. In terms of draft, honestly, SRG's draft won me over halfway through that game. I don't think their draft was any worse than RQ's, but I will agree that I think RQ's draft was a bit harder to pull off. There was a bit more things that they had to do in sense of hit certain skill shots. The timing of that Fury of the Phoenix had to always be perfect, whereas RQ's draft was just a bit more straightforward for me. Everyone had a very easy objective.
I agree they had a very easy objective, but then it's really your coin flipping every single time for SRG, right? It's like I have to mechanically outplay you, and Sutsujin's only worry is, am I going to get Tsunami slammed, and can I lock down Sakai's?
As we head into the draft for game number 2, surprise, surprise, what I have been telling everyone should be the pick of MSC 2025, the Akai, is banned in the first phase by SRG.
So do we see a Fredrin ban as the last one from SRG? Pure target onto Sutsujin, because it's true, all we've seen from RRQ so far is utility jungle.
Oh, they're trying to get Sutsujin into the assassin mindset.
Let's go toe for toe, ninjas in the jungle, baby.
I think they actually won't ban out the Fredrin here for the side of SRG. I think they actually want Sutsujin to be on the Fredrin, because then it is more straightforward as to what they want. At least for the side of SRG.OG esports, right? I think even if they get the Fredrin at this point, it's also not too bad. Ooh, the Ruby ban for the side of RRQ.
It's because the YSS could have been open, and essentially you take out the Ruby, YSS is now sort of softly taken away as an option.
I think YSS is going to get first pick by SRG's side.
Yeah, it's something they've picked up before. It's something we've barely ever seen. I think they have to pick it up. But against, how does it fare against the Fredrin? You get hit by that taunt when you come in? Is it? I feel like it could be something similar to the Joy, where if you come in too close, you're in a kind of a bad spot.
Well, I mean, it's the same problem that you have with Lancelot, right? You're basically trying to use your iframes, the traceless in this case, to kind of stay ahead of the game. But honestly, let's see, right? Because Yishin Shin has been picked up whenever it is open, especially when Red Side doesn't ban it for a majority of teams.
Yeah, and if they go YSS here, that means SRG could end up with a double carry at most. The double marksman strategy that we've been seeing all throughout MSC. So RRQ still going to lean into the juice, and now Kaleo combo at the center of the map with strong control. I think SRG, they need to take a page from RRQ's book, and they might want to consider picking up the Badang now.
Badang could definitely be clean. Maybe lock in their mage a little earlier this time.
Oh, yeah.
I think that could definitely be a possibility as well. But now that they have something like the YSS, I'm excited to see exactly how it plays out.
I think right now what it's riding on is whether or not you can get a winning matchup for the side of EXP. I'm trying to think of synergies right now, because that's what blue side, especially within this first phase, really set up for. Can we set up for second phase strong synergies or strong laners? And in this case, it's going to be strong laners for the side of SRG. The CC, I'm okay with. The Farsa, I'm a little worried for, considering that, Gatot hasn't been picked up as a counter engagement.
Yeah, really great pick here by RRQ, considering that you don't have to worry about the Fovis on the other side, and you needed someone to reach that Farsa. Arlot's a great pickup for Dyron.
Yeah, but at least I will say with them picking it up this early, there's not as many counters as RRQ had last time against some of those long-range mages.
Yeah.
So I think this could be comfortable. The CC, though sometimes we see the XP lane get pushed back into second phase, CC's just solid overall, right? She can't really do any wrong. You do kind of lack your crowd control here a little bit, but they can make up for that in second phase.
They take away the Granger, so they're taking away the reach as much as possible from Innocent, but then RRQ doesn't have enough pieces right now to actually make, if ever hypothetically, they decide to go Harith in the gold lane.
I mean, they don't have to go Harith, right? There's still Moskov available. They can still play Claude if they wanted to as well, all of which do pretty decent into the Farsa at the end of the day. We've seen that Toy is actually pretty capable of taking on, Innocent's Moskov in a 1v1 scenario. And even then, I'm still a little worried about a couple of things. Number one, whether or not Gatot is a consideration for RRQ for banning, or whether or not SRG is going to completely take out the Fredrin at this point. There we go. Now, we're forcing them to go into an assassin section, which then again, let's say if RRQ get access to Lancelot, then there's a big question of, is there enough burst with the Kalia?
I think at this point, I think you still maybe ban out the Lancelot, maybe you ban out the Hayabusa, something of that nature. You're right though, lack of burst. They have the Jushin, they don't really have that on the side of RRQ. It's mostly chip damage right now. So, and then they ban the Granger against themselves as well, which could have been a really decent, right away pickup for them, being first pick in second phase. Where does RRQ go from here, honestly? I feel like they're in the bad spot of this draft right now.
Yeah, Excuse me, they banned the Fovius?
There's a possibility, because keep in mind, RRQ is the only other team that puts CC in the gold. Yeah.
So they're thinking that the CC might go into the gold lane.
And they did it last time they had the YSS. They went Ruby Dyroth against CFU, which, yes, it's very different. But the point is with the burst damage of a Farza and a YSS, it is very doable. And they could even pick something that's a bit more aggressive that still output damage, something like the Dairoth. I'm not crazy about it, but you get my point, right?
Yeah. So for SRG's last ban, yeah, I think I'm on the same boat as you guys. Just ban out an assassin. It is the Hayabusa. One of the things you want to go for if you have a Farsa in your lineup, and considering where the YSS will be compared to the rest of the team, it's a safe ban. Then they do end up picking the Harith away from the side of SRG if ever SRG was looking for a more traditional carry in the gold lane. So are they gonna lean into the double fighter setup to supplement this YSS is the big question now for SRG.
I think it's going to be really difficult to actually go for this like double fighter setup at this point, because yes, they've got the damage, but at the same time getting picked off from the side of RRQ is also highly likely, right? They've got good ways of disengage, they've got a great pick-off hero in the Kalia, so sustaining through the damage is always a possibility, and I think the only one that we should be worried about was the Ruby, but it's already banned out. So it forces SRG, unless they've got some really deep pockets in that gold lane, to say, hey, Innocent, what other fighters can you play?
Definitely something. They go for the Claude, though. Still need a roamer, and I think they need some crowd control. They do take the Gatot, solid, something that can still hold down the front line. On the side of RQ, they need some physical damage at this point. I think the Lancelot's probably their best option here.
They can go Lance, they can go Ling. I don't think there's anything else that's pretty crazy, but I think that SRG are banking that's like, sure, you could play Ling, but then you're late game. If you play Lancelot, the first two items are the most important, and we don't believe in your mechanics enough to get away with it.
Yeah, you need the raw damage. The Arlot and Kalea, with what SRG is looking like right now, might not be able to last that long. So they do go for the Lancelot. They get that burst. How are we feeling about these drafts? Which team are you siding with?
I really like the SRG draft right now. I think it's very straightforward. I think it's clean. I think it's a bit simpler than what they tried to do last time.
I think that it's still going to be a 50-50 between the two teams. We're going to see something very similar to the last game.
Yeah.
A bit of a switch in roles, but I think SRG's lineup will scale much better.
I'm on the same boat as Trex here, leaning a little bit more towards the SRG draft. But let's see, maybe Darren might pop off again for RRQ, completely throwing her predictions out of the way. So, bring it in, nice. What about you two? What do you guys think about the draft for this game number 2?
Thank you so much, panel. I'll tell you what we think. I'm going to go with RRQ here. I think they had a great game last time, Brigida. Dyron was locked in, and he's got the Arlon in his hand. That is a little more risky, though, because we've seen some final slashes change the course of games, either for better or for worse. So you guys can let us know in the comments as well what you guys think, who has the better draft for Game 2. Welcome to the Land of Dawn here. It's this best of 5 to move on forward. Brigida, what do you think? Are you going with the boys on the panel?
Okay, I think we're going to be split in terms of what we think when it comes to the draft for game number 2, because as much as I wanted to side with RRQ as well, granted what they were able to accomplish in game number 1, and given that they had the Jushin Arlot combination that could be paired up well with their other heroes, the AoE that SRG has right now and the type of lineup that they have looks too good in terms of team fights. And well, they must be played to coordinate well enough to be able to make things work, right? And if that's going to be the case for SRG.OG heading into this game, then things may be, one, a lot more simpler and a lot more better for them, I feel.
I feel like the early game, especially when these level 4s are available, RRQ could really punish in the early objective takes for the Turtles. A lot of that, again, comes with the fact that that is just the power of a Kalea. That's why a lot of teams like to go ahead and pick that up. You also throw in the Arlot, that kit to go ahead and help you out. There's a whole lot that they can do in these early fights that gives them a advantage when it comes to early team fights. Now, where does SRG.OG Esports come into that? They have just quite a bit of damage early on, which they can go ahead and do. Taking a look at the first blood rates here, this is how much these teams like to fight, as you can already see here. Yumes, he should be finding pretty tanky.
Yeah, literally fighting in as early as now, less than 2 minutes into this game, but
we've seen some early first blood.
Yeah,
30 seconds or so.
26?
26.
There has been one, which was at 26 seconds. That's true. That happened in the group stage, so we're yet to see that happen in the knockouts because teams tend to play a little more cautiously, and that's for sure, but that does not seem cautious at all. What a surprise setup coming in from Zyron. They get to burst down Rids first. However, Stormy trying to hold on to dear life, but he won't be able to survive that as well. Sutsujin freely gets hold of the objective for his team, but it's a beautiful curtain call. Yo-Yo Blitz coming in from Cram. Finds a way to respond to RRQ, but Zyron, he buys some time for Sutsujin to steal away the orange or the purple buff.
Okay, a whole lot happened there. Sutsujin should be fine. He's gonna throw no. Never. Oh, he's so close to dying. Again, earlier, even Sakai is getting that charge up, the shot in there, but man, so Turtle goes to RRQ.
Yeah.
That was a fight started from the final slash like we've expected to happen there. But even when you get that down, if you are in a position where you're kind of outgunned, outdamaged, that's what I was saying with SRG's lineup, they have a lot of good early damage. And so when you jump into that fight, and mind you, 2 of those kills went to Cram, so this might be one of the games where it's like Cram now has this lead against Dyron. He's got 2 early kills on a CC, which is going to allow him to go ahead and duke it out, but already up top.
And 3 members are going to actually punish him right there. So as you mentioned, they are looking to secure that early advantage for Cram once again. And I believe this happened earlier too. They just have to really keep it close. But the Zaman 4 is already committed by Toy. Doesn't get to actually fully answer back though. The BMI for the Claude has been such a crucial part as well in the way that he's able to keep himself safe. Has to be extra careful though because the other members of SRG.OG are also down bottom as well. But going back, okay, we can't even say anything about what happens in terms of the lineup because for now, RRQ will try to burst down Yooms. Is it the right decision? However, Sakai's actually pretty low as well. They're doing a great job at just sustaining and holding on despite all that early game damage you mentioned.
Brigida, it's still the same thing. Both teams going back and forth already in game 2, just like they did. They're looking to make a play up here on Cram.
Oh,
nice final slash.
That's a beautiful lantern flare, final slash, but now they get tied with the curtain call. Both Edok and Dyron get taken out right before the turtle.
See, that's crazy because like RRQ just ends up, you know, surviving that whole interaction in the mid lane. They could have just started probably the turtle. They go for a play up top, and now they're going to lose this objective over to SRG. Cram will go ahead and zone out as much as possible. Sutsujin, and they might get some more. I mean, they have to respect this. They flicker forward.
Such an aggressive decision coming in from RRQ, and that cost Rin's his life. Dyron still decides to go in, though. Does use the final slash. Will he get the kill onto Sakai? He actually does. A nice follow as well coming in from Edok, but the blazing do it from Innocent might force them to get away. Zaman Force already committed by Toy, but will he be able to find a trade? Edok will fall next. Crab battling up against Toy, but finds a way to escape, but no!
Hey, if they want those kills, they're going to go for it. So many aggressive flickers being used. Finally, Cram goes down because he was 5-0 for a second there. And RRQ had to get something. They had to get a shutdown going. We're going to look at the instant replay here from STC. This was all started. Look at this.
With a flicker.
Rins goes forward. They get caught in a bad position, but still, it also brings it to a fight here where then Dyron can join. He uses the final slash, but this whole time, both gold laners also rotating towards this fight. I mean, if we had 51 kills earlier, I don't know how many we're going to have this time in game 2.
We might be exceeding that even if the pace keeps going like this, but even despite the early lead that Cram was able to establish, or SRG.OG was able to establish for their XP lane, RRQ are actually the ones who get to convert into a turret first. There's not too much of a significant lead in terms of the other laning matchups. It's just mostly really on the EXP lane. And so RRQ, I feel like that's one thing you'd really have to look at because they tend to overextend in a way. I mean, we're still in the 6-minute mark of the game, yes, but these are decisions that can immediately be punished by a single curtain call, and that applies to whoever decides to go in, be it Rins with the flicker on the Jushin and whatnot. So like, those are things you have to calculate a bit more if you were RRQ.
This is good, though, from RRQ, because, again, you know, based off the rematch that we remember seeing, or the match we remember seeing from M6, RRQ definitely comes into this series a lot more aggressive. You know, they are a team that likes to be a little more foundational, a little more stick to the book here, a lot with these objectives, and they're going to have to fight for the second turtle. They are dealing with the pressure from SRG's lineup. There's a jump on in.
Oh, AOG curtain call. Beautiful call coming in from RRQ, but Sutsujin still gets the turtle for his team. EDOC, though, will be punished here. Double kill for Cram. Riz just trying to scare away the other members from chasing them, but that was clearly somehow a bit more favorable for SRG.
Yeah, they get a couple kills off of it. They get some pressure. They dealt with Toy. Toy was starting to scale up pretty well in this Harith.
Whoa.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, those are very aggressive combinations coming in from SRG. And then somehow Dyran gets to cancel that feathered airstrike, but that was a close call for Rins. Okay, so going back, I know we did mention that RRQ, oh, hold on, Sutsujin, will he get to escape this? Cram doing a great job at pressuring him as he tries to defend that tier 1 down bottom.
If last game we saw
oh my goodness.
RRQ's XP laner Dyran have a great game, now this time it's Cram's for game 2. 7-1-2 now. This CC is starting to be a really big problem. Actually, it's been a problem for the majority of the game, but whoa, hold on.
That's a lot of damage coming in from Stormy. The other members didn't even have to do much. They just stood right in front of them, blocked their way to trying to cancel Stormy out or answer back, and now that's a Zaman Force coming in from Choi. Tries to burst down Cram, but he gets to bounce away. So not even, like, SRG can afford to do those kinds of plays because they have the mobility to keep themselves safe.
That's one of the things that the panel is really trying to paint a picture here too. You know, there's, in terms of damage potential from RQ, it's a little bit more difficult because yes, you need the scaling from a Harith, but again, if Sutsujin hasn't been able to utilize much because of this zone potential that a Pharsa gives. I know Gideon mentioned that he was a little worried about it, but so far it's working really well in terms of damage. And that's all the Pharsa really does. Like, you are a big artillery setup for your team to play around that feathered airstrike. And they've done so well at catching targets. I mean, you lay that down, you have an Avatar of the Guardian, you get to jump on in. It's such a damage zone of that RRQ wants to stay away from because that Innocent can just come through with the Blazing Duet. So we're seeing a lot of these ultimates from SRG.OG Esports work really well in conjunction with each other, and it's RRQ that's trying to scramble and be like, how do we approach these fights? What do we do? Because a lot of that is this final slash.
Oh, Phantom Execution doesn't connect, but they still get the kill on Stormy. However, one man down for SRG.OG. And that is one way you could also use your resources in conjunction with one another for RRQ. Like, just take them by surprise like that.
They want to take down one of the biggest damage dealers. They're going to be fine. There's the initiation, though.
2 or 3 man knockup done right there. But with the Blazing Duet, SRG.OG are actually able to hold out. It's a triple for Cram. Could possibly be a maniac. And he finds it on the CC. 11-1 and 3.
And he's going to get the Lord. Cram is right now the team. He is doing everything.
Yeah.
Look at this. The initiation comes through, but Cram is fine. With a Vengeance, with as stacked as he is, he just does so much damage to RRQ around here. And, you know, you're sitting here, he gets a Maniac, and then they get the Lord. Like, how do you stop this? And this is such an interesting thing because CC takes a very specific lineup for it to really work the way it has. But so far, it's been phenomenal in the hands of Cram for game 2, and this is giving a huge swing in favor for them. RRQ doesn't really have an answer to deal with this. We usually see CCs do well in damage, but look, he's sitting at #1, pretty far ahead of a Pharsa. That is insane that he's actually able to do that. And also, a lot of this has to do when he jumps on into this, he pops the Vengeance, and he's fine. He's also tanky and does so much damage.
Yep. That'll be a lot of bounty if ever they do get to find a kill onto Cram, but that might be something that will be a bit tricky to pull off if you're RRQ because you have to pay attention to a lot of other stuff. Because the other members can decide to go in whenever they like. There's the AOG, there's the Blazing Duet, and right now you're seeing the Feathered Airstrike. They'll have to work on clearing and taking down the Lord first before they proceed with anything else. And looking at it right now, Dyran does have the Flicker if they'd want to decide to go for something, but you'd also have to consider, would it be best to actually use it as a means to cancel out the other members of SRG.OG instead? But he decides to use it as a setup, gets the follow-up from the other members, and Sekai is the first to get targeted down, but the AOG denies Sutsujin of the escape, and now Innocent goes in with the Blazing Duet, will find the kill onto Riz as well, and the Feathered Airstrike will nearly catch up to EDOC. But that was clearly a decision by RRQ. They wanted to force a fight right there.
That was a risk, if anything, Brigida. I mean, they chose to fight. They thought, you know, we clear the Lord, we can handle this, we're going to go for it. Now they're going to lose this base turret. And even so, it's been time and time again where we've seen this final slash used to start some of the fights, and RRQ ends up just losing it. And that's really tough because you got to think, who do you final slash? How do you win that fight? Because even if you slash Cram into the equation, again, he's going to pop the Vengeance. He's going to be able to go ahead and just kind of bounce around the team from RRQ. And that was also the window for Innocent to go ahead and come in with that Blazing Duet. So you're just in a really tough situation if you're RRQ to make this lineup work. And it's really showing that the draft difference here. I mean, from start to finish so far, SRG.OG Esports has just been able to go ahead and capitalize on a lot of the decisions they made, but also just the way that this lineup works. Now it gets even more difficult to deal with Cram because he's got an immortality.
And he's still on that 11-1 KDA. Now we put a bit more highlight on him. Also nearly, or actually completed his build already on the CC, so that just adds up to the reasons that RRQ might find it a bit more difficult to deal with him, even if you want to potentially take him out first as probably one of the members who gets to extend a little bit further deep into the fight. But even when they decide to go for him or the Tsunami Slab, it does not seem to be the best possible decision. Toy gets blasted as well, so Sijin tries to go for Stormy, but just repositions with the Wings by Wings, and Innocent decides to go in as well with the Blazing Duet. They might actually try to go for this base turret.
They're going to jump into the base. They don't have any waves pushing in the mid lane just yet, but they can go ahead and wait for that one on the bottom to come up. They will just ignore the Lord, it seems. There's still 10 seconds on Edok to come up, so we'll see if SRG decides to end the game on this push.
There's a concealed play. They definitely want to look for something here. Final stack already committed by Dyron, but Innocent, he will just be targeting the turrets right here. Dyron buying a lot of time, but the curtain call is already committed onto him. Gets bursted down as well. There's a Tsunami Slam, but Edok, he won't be able to sustain. And now SRG.OG, they equalize the series.
No sweeps for this one. We didn't think it'd be that case anyway. 1-1 into the series now. What a dominant game game 2 was. I mean, there was some moments where it was a back and forth, you know, but ultimately, hey, it was Cram's game here for game 2. Definitely saw what Dyron did in game 1. He's like, hey, I can do that too.
You could forget everything that happened in game number 1 with that performance from Cram in game number 2.
Yeah. I mean, he, again, a maniac.
He got a maniac.
On the CC. Top of the damage meters. Like, this doesn't... Like, this is what we wish our XP laners in our own games would be like, you know? I mean, like, he was able to just go ahead and do so well with this. And again, I want to say, as we look at the highlights, a lot of it had to do with that early damage profile that comes with this kind of lineup, with the fact that the timings on a lot of this were also on point. They had to utilize the Avatar of the Guardian and that Feathered Airstrike really well with each other, but it also worked well with the YSS. I mean, this was the first pick in the draft because of the reason that you get some of that additional map presence. You know, you're able to go ahead and spot things out. So, amazing game here for SRG.OG Esports. We're going to be throwing it back to the panel to go ahead and see what their thoughts are about game number 2.
Nice, are you throwing a bit of shade towards me? I'm usually the EXP laner that you are paired up with when you're playing your Cho. I can play CC like this too, but yeah, definitely Cram was the guy for SRG, setting it up with Yumes, and you two have some very strong opinions about this game number 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we came into this series focusing on gold laners, focusing on junglers, but right now I think the focus has to be on the EXP laners. After an amazing game from Dyron on game 1, Cram comes in and just completely flips the script.
I mean, just look at that endgame score. He's 12-1 and 18 as we get into that final sequence, and then turns it into 13-1 and 8, which is crazy. But I have to talk about the big differences of game 1 and game number 2, because when we saw game number 1, right, we saw that the biggest difference was the fact that Dyron was having a good time on this Lapu and could carry that lead. So adjusting into game 2, that's where we see the big change. The question became, can we get Cram in a better position in the laning phase to start affecting the mid game? And more importantly, so how much can we squeeze the value out of Stormy? Because he was playing Genius Wand first item on a Farsa.
And that's where we looked at the draft. The big difference was instead of slotting those two at the end of the phase, they brought them in right away. They made sure they locked in Stormy immediately in the mage. They made sure they locked in Cram immediately on a CC, which doesn't have a whole lot of counterplay. We mentioned that no matter what, it's going to do pretty well, especially in the hands of Cram.
Yeah. Let's not also forget the fact that this Gatot, I like the way that SRG kind of ordered, as Trex mentioned, ordered the draft, right? The final scores are listed there, ridiculous coming in from Cram, but just notice that everybody has some form of synergy with this Gatot, right? If Gatot lands a CC, it's basically over for whoever is taunted. But that AOG alongside with the Curtain Call, a really powerful combination. Let's not forget about the Turtle Bolt with the Mountain Chakra to not only get the information, but force opponents in a particular direction to guarantee the stun.
Yeah, and the really smart thing about Stormy rushing that Genius Wand is that it goes well with Yumes. Yeah, the Genius Wand helps reduce the magic defense that Yumes would be more than happy because he deals magic damage too.
What makes this draft even better is they weren't even at late game Claude yet. Like, they even had a cherry on top. They had a just in case, depending on how far this game went.
And I love that you guys brought, because this is a snowballing effect, one after the other. Farsa goes to Genius Wand, and then Claude needs to get his items. The reason why we see Farsa picking up this Genius Wand, because she knows, hey, I need a cost-efficient item because I'm going to be rotating across the map. A majority of these 24 kills wouldn't have even happened if not for the fact that Stormy still provided good damage, allowing Innocent to pick up that mid-wave too.
You know, and I just got to say, I miss seeing EXP laners in the carry, doing the most damage per minute. Yeah. We all grew bored of just having these bulky EXP laners, these sustained EXP laners, and even though the CC was able to pick up tank items, still outputting an insane amount of damage.
Yeah, and I think that goes to show just where the mindset of SRG and RRQ was in terms of their EXP lane picks. SRG, they went ahead and rushed the CZ. That's them already looking at, they're probably going to pick up the R-Lot, because that's what RRQ needed in the big picture of it all. While for RRQ, now it's like, okay, we have the R-Lot, good for a big picture, but terrible in lane up against a CC. It's always just such a good time for CC and the rest of the team that has a CC on their side when they're going up against an EXP lane R-Lot.
I think what Arcadia and Keskute posed to each other, they looked at each other and said this, hey, I believe that Sutsujin is not going to get as much value out of the Lancelot, and Keskute said, I don't think you're going to get as much value out of the CC. If not, the bans would have been a little different, right? We saw the Phovias get banned out, understandable, because Kalian as well as Arla were already shown in first phase.
I think another good thing about the bans was SRG banning out that Basha and that Akai early on, rushing the CC to kind of throw a warning out. Are you sure you want to pick the Fredrin? Are you sure you want to pick the Fredrin? And then, by then, we're forcing RQ into this Lancelot. So I think the next question on my mind is, you know, are they going to be stuck in utility jungle? Is assassin jungle something that we're really going to see from RQ in the future? Or is it going to flop like what we just saw in the last series?
Well, here's the thing. Between both of these teams who are already playing at such a high level, I can't even blame Sutsujin, right? The early game actually worked out really well for him. It's not like he mismechanicked. It really boiled down to, oh, I just didn't have one extra stack of War Axe before I went into the fight, which is why we're seeing, like, for an example, where is he? Sakai's walking away with 1 HP after the Thorn Rose.
And a little bit of a conspiracy theory here. I feel like for multiple points of the draft, it was RRQ falling into some trap set by SRG. The fact that you already saw the CC in the R-Lot, I mean, again, I'm still leaning towards the idea that RRQ shouldn't have leaned in on banning the Phovis in that second phase. At that point, I think SRG already had it settled in their heads that, no, we're going to be playing Claude here.
But I think that's kind of goes to the ode of SRG, and maybe even the advantage of them playing so many games in the group stage and showing some different possibilities that they could bring to the draft. Showing that Ruby Gold Lane's a possibility, you know, double fighters are a possibility. Maybe RQ just a little too much in their head there.
I think it all rounds back to the fact that we saw what happened in game number 1. We put our focus in both Sakai's alongside with Innocent, and that just wasn't a good draft pattern against RRQ. They seem very prepared for Sakai's in particular on top of Innocent, so let's now start leaning into everybody else. I think Kescute's next plan here is to make sure that he disrupts a couple of the synergies alongside, most importantly, Yumes, who kind of is getting away with a lot more than he probably should in these past 2 games.
Yeah, and I just have to commend Yumes. I was quite vocal about how Yumes, it felt like he underperformed underperformed in that series during the group stage at one point before they faced off against CFU. I believe it was... Were they up against again? Can't remember. But when SRG went up against that, it seemed like Humes was underperforming. But then now... He's making the most out of the unbreakable taunts. He's making the most out of the AOG. So he's really playing a fantastic game. And I think that's one of the picks now that RRQ has to look into. Hey, if you have a Gatot on the side of on the hands of Humes, we really have to be careful.
And that's the great thing about the meta right now, where so many teams and players have talked about how open it is, how balanced it is right now. Is it's almost impossible to cover all of your bases in the bans. There's always something left that could fit into the comp, and as long as the player can use it correctly, they can pull it off. And that's something that really has been so enjoyable, I think, in general about these drafts.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think the only adjustment they could have made is get rid of the Gatot in phase 2, force them onto a chill. Maybe that could have been an option.
A lot of possibilities could happen here. Again, hello to everyone in the arena right now on site here at Riyadh, Saudi Arabia at the Boulevard. Thank you so much for joining us. We are about to head into the draft for game number 3. And I feel like a lot of the trades we're going to be seeing are going to be around the EXP and Roam now. But if anyone should bring out something surprising here, as we mentioned at the top of the show, wherein these two teams cannot hide anything anymore, they just have to show their hands, show their best cards. I think RRQ needs to do that for this game number 3.
Yeah, I think, well, what we saw from SRG in game number 2 is they completely changed the way they approach the draft. And I think we definitely see the way that RRQ approaches this draft. And that's when we know we're in some good MLBB. Both teams, every game, whoever loses, okay, let's not try to do the same thing over and over again. Let's switch up who we slot first, what we ban, etc., etc.
Yeah, things are gonna get wild in the draft, as wild as they are in-game right now with the Dino Planet All-Star event happening all the way until August 5th. Remember, you can face off against Roar, the Pterosaur Lord. That's why they called him Roar. Okay, beat him and win exclusive rewards like a limited avatar border and join themed events to unlock a free skin, the Popol and Kuba Proto Hunter. And if you're a creator, submit your clips to grab special battle emotes. Are you ready to roar?
Rawr. I'm so ready for Popo and Koopa to be back in the meta.
I'm not. I am not.
Well,
I love that hero.
Stormy's staring us down. Stormy. Oh, okay.
Stormy's like, I heard that.
Yeah.
Don't bring Popo and Koopa back. I play Farsa. Like, please don't.
Actually, that's the hero I'm looking for. This MSC, this whole MSC, I've been looking for someone brave enough to pick up a Popol and Koopa.
Roam or gold?
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
Even mid, man. Even mid.
Even mid. I love it.
The fact that you're suggesting it as Roam, God, I remember the days.
Yeah, I used to play it. I used to play it, man.
Y'all the worst. Y'all are the worst.
It was a sure, 5-second stun and lockdown.
Yeah.
And then you try to get out. Nope, you can't walk out because there's a trap under your feet.
I still play gold occasionally here and there just because I don't know, it's a fun hero to play. It's just like, if I'm not trying to try hard, yeah, I'll throw in some Popo and Koopa.
I respect it. I respect it a lot. But I think the funny thing that we've seen from these internationals, every time an international quote-unquote skin comes out, it barely gets used. Like, come on, it's Natan this time around, and they're like, nah, ain't gonna touch it.
Yeah, even during the time where Farsa was a skin, she wasn't even that meta during that time.
Yeah, people preferred Valentina.
Yeah. Wait, was last year Valentina? Last year was Valentina, right?
Yes.
Last year was Valentina. We saw a little bit of Valentina play at least, right?
Yeah, we did.
We got to see a little Valentina.
Not as much as I would.
What you would think? You think they just like pump up that hero, buff it as much as possible so that everyone's playing it, right?
Well,
should be the case.
I mean, I wish they did, but there's too many case studies where they didn't do that. Like Yuzong, for an example. Like, come on, where was all that?
Yeah, but no, Nathan did get buffed, and there were people saying that Nathan should come in for MSC, but we haven't seen him yet.
Yeah, that's what they said about, like, I don't know, Rafael.
Yeah, what happened to that?
Enchanter supports.
Because she doesn't have a skin.
Oh, yeah.
So hopefully we get to see some more unique picks in the draft here. And if ever, RRQ might need to pull that out to win this game number 3 against SRG, who I feel like they've... I felt like game 1 was a low-key kind of a draft download. Game 2, their adjustments in the draft were perfect. And then also a little bit coming from the fact that RRQ may have overthought some certain aspects of their draft with some bans that maybe weren't necessary.
So I think something really important to point out here with RRQ on first pick on blue side, SRG approaches the bans differently already. And I'm kind of questioning that, or I'm wondering at least if after this YSS, we'll still see the Basha Kai. We'll still see that possibility of whittling down on RRQ and forcing them into one pick.
Oh, that's tough. Because what that relies on is the priority list in terms of SRG's head. Like, yes, I know that you are capable of playing both the Akai alongside with the Fredrin as well as the Baxia, but arguably SRG need to be able to play those heroes too. I haven't seen the Akai come out. I think that the Baxia and definitely the Fredrin probably is pretty high up in SRG's priority list, but I feel like Sakai's isn't that type of person where it's like, I want to be able to carry these games. I want to be able to kind of like be the driving force rather than putting some of my secondary engagers in the line of fire.
Yeah. So now another question for RRQ is, are they going to rush their Juicing again, similar to what they did before? They respect ban the CC, taking it out in the first phase. That's a great call, but now SRG needs to start thinking in the back of their heads, okay, what's Dyron going to end up with? Because if they're not careful, we might end up with just another EXP lane trade that favors RRQ this time.
It's definitely tough. Honestly, with RRQ on blue side, I don't think the Jushin's a horrible rush pick. The drafts are almost, I think they are a mimic of what we saw in Game 1. We do see the CC banned out this time from the side of RRQ. So if RRQ rushes a Jushin and SRG doesn't lock in a Mage and Cram right away, then it's looking like a replay overall. They do bring in the Zushin. So I think this time maybe, do they steal the Lapu?
No,
and not let RRQ take it up front?
No, Kalia Farsa right off the rip. I think the biggest problem was that they didn't have that initial burst and they put a lot of the eggs into the Sakai's basket, which is not entirely wrong, right? But they kind of need to alleviate the pressure, and that's what Stormy is really good at doing. He really squeezes out a lot of value from mages, even though it's supposed to be like late game scaling. Again, game number 2, Genius want early, rotate, give the rest of the farm to Cram.
Yeah, I'm also on both that when the Jushin gets picked, you take the Farza immediately, and there it is, Kalea Farza, good call.
Doesn't this mean RQ can rush all their crowd control chainers right now? They can go Gato, they can go Badang. They're definitely going to have to pick up their gold laner now, or maybe they don't even have to, because we know that the gold lane for RQ does have a deep pool. Toy has a lot of options that he can go for. If he doesn't get his Claude, he can get an Irithel to be even more of a menace for SRG.
I think you go Gatot Lapu at this point, right? I think you know for a fact that Dyron is confident, but more importantly, you need somebody to cancel out this Feathered Airstrike. And if you're going to lean into Dyron, you might be able to kind of pivot the idea for SRG to say, hey, you want a super safe R4? Well, guess what? You're going to have to commit a little bit more. But a Kai instead.
I think it's solid, because the worry is if they don't pick up jungle now, SRG picks whatever they want. They ban out Akai, Fred, take the Lancelot, and leave nothing. Or they ban out, they just really leave literally nothing with RQ. And I think RQ might be showing some cards right now that we need to get our jungle in early. This is something that, I'm starting to guess, is the pool small there?
I think it's not small. I think this is a cost-efficient way of not having to lock in the Gatot instead and still keeping Edoc's hero pool open while allowing him to maybe get Franco later down the road to punish Sakai's if he tries to go for Lance.
Okay. Let's see what the possibilities we're going to be seeing. We pose a lot. SRG do rush the Claude right away up against an Akai Moscow. That is a difficult pick to make work, especially with what's available for RQ later on, but I feel like that screams confidence. There's something that how Innocent played into how RQ were team fighting in game number 2 that made SRG go, you know what, we're feeling good about the Claude.
The Claude's never like that bad, even though I feel like it's always kind of a skill matchup. Because of that BMI, you always have some ability to dance, you always have a way to come in. The Akai's not too much of a threat to it. I don't know, at least in my opinion. I feel like the Claude's always had, that's why he's been in the meta for so long. Even if he's not the meta, he's always pickable, I feel like.
You're totally right about this, Trex, because imagine if they wanted to lean into Harith, for an example, and that just sucks against the Akai. You get knocked out of the Zaman Force, and then you kind of don't have any damage anymore.
Yeah, as we're looking at the most used heroes for these two teams, should RQ or even SRG consider that a Masha might show up in the hands of Dyron? Because you just need that one quick burst on that Claude to put him down.
Yeah, that is something they could worry about, because the Masha, at least you're not jumping in with the bravest fighter. It's not as hard. You just get close, hit the skill, and boom, Claude's gone.
There's that, but also I do agree with people's opinions on Dyron on Badang. He's a different beast, right? Especially when you have Flicker in his hands. I think it is actually a pretty good way to have a secondary means of engage rather than putting all the weight on Akai and then starting to peel for Toy on this Moskov.
I think they got to ban the Lapu here, personally. I think the Farza, it's the one thing that can maybe catch the Farza off guard.
Yeah.
Badong also, it could be a problem as well. Either one. They're going to go for the Matilda instead, though, which with the utility jungle, I get it.
Yeah, interesting. That would have been an overload on utility for the side of RRQ, but that would have messed up the rotational speed for SRG. I think they're putting a lot of focus onto the Sakai and what it can do to disrupt the flow of the rotations for the side of Selangor Red Giants. Well, for RRQ, yeah, I don't think they need to worry about EXP lane picks, because a lot of the EXP lane picks that you can pick up for SRG right now are looking at that Akai and going, oh, this is going to be a tough game for me.
I think no matter what, SRG is going to have a winning EXP matchup, and that's the most important thing for them on that red side, right? The Lancelot ban finally goes through. RRQ have a couple of options right now, and the issue is that they won't have access to sandbags. No matter what sandbag they have, there is a very clear response from SRG's side.
So what does SRG take here? Do they save the XP for the possible counterplay, or do they pick something up front? Again, Lapu could be a pick to make sure that they're not getting picked against them. They could just go into something. Lance is already gone. Hayabusa for jungle, maybe just lock in jungle first?
Yeah, might be tough. Although that could be a really good option. They go for the Lapu. Okay, they rush the Lapu right away, I think. Yeah, at this point, RRQ goes for the Badang on Dairen.
They go for Badang on the Dairen most likely. Because they're also worried about a potential Hilda from the side of Dairen too. I think that SRG are thinking whether util or whether util or assassins, right? I think Hayabusa is not bad, but they want to see the full lineup from RRQ side because they're forcing him into the Hayabusa.
RQ though also kind of lacking in burst damage overall. What do they lock in here? Esmeralda and Cho. So Cho for Roam, Esmeralda EXP. Still kind of lacking in damage. It is all shred on the side of RQ. We're talking, I mean, yes, you have the pick-off potential to make up for that, but definitely for me, a little dangerous.
God damn it, Kescute's too smart. He's both locked out the options for Fredrin as well Hayabusa. No matter what, these neutral objectives are going to be so hard to take. We've seen the classic matchup of Fredrin into Akai, you get pushed into a wall. What's worse, you go into Hayabusa, you're going to get kicked by the Cho.
Yeah, it seems like with everything RQ brought to the table, whatever Sekais ends up with is going to have difficulty. If Sekais has an easy game, that's an MVP game for him. At this point, it's pick your poison for SRG. Will it be the Hayabusa as your jungle?
What was that?
That was Xborg. Yeah, baby! This
Okay.
is interesting because now tempo can be wrestled with.
Yeah.
With the export, you can kind of poke out your opponents. Any full commitment to break the Faraga armor is going to initiate all the ults from SRG.
And the fact that there's no big burst damage from RQ means it's going to be very hard to get that Faraga armor down. Normally it's the Farza. It's heroes like that that you want to use against the Xborg, and all of that is on the side of SRG right now.
How do you break down a front-to-back formation? You don't break it, you burn it down. Let's see if this Xborg pick will help SRG take this game number 3, or will RRQ take it? Bring it up, Naisu, you guys take it.
Take it away, we shall. Thank you so much to the panel for breaking down Game 3's draft. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It's me, Naisu, joined with Brigida to bring you this third game in this best of 5 to move on forward to the semis. Will it be RRQ to get the upper hand sitting at match point if they get it, or will it be SRG? We've seen two very different games, Brigida, from Game 1 to Game 2 now, and it's been all about the XP laners. What do we think about this one?
Well, I mean, the matchup in terms of the Esmeralda versus the Lapu is kind of given. You just have to manage it a little bit more to even, or to get even in terms of that matchup. But I feel like my eyes are glued to this last pick, Xborg, that was brought out by SRG.OG, because like this literally changes everything. It resembles that idea we saw earlier where there are just so many zoners, there's so many playmakers, but it's not just that. The amount of burst damage from RRQ might not be that sufficient to constantly be able to deal with the Firaga armor, especially if Sekais is being protected really well by, let's say, the Ferret Airstrike, by, let's say, just even Yumes on the Kalea. So if RRQ doesn't find a way to play around this lineup of SRG, it's gonna be looking pretty good for the Red Giants.
Yeah, and looking at the emblems too, this is what we kind of expect here. You got a couple Impure Rages, of course, for the Sutsujin on the Akai, and then over on the Esmeralda for Dyron. The difference for the XP laner, I would say, for RRQ in this sense is how does Dyron utilize the Esmeralda? So far, throughout MSC, we've seen it struggle a bit, for the most part. But of course, you want to go ahead and utilize the fact that you can also put some pressure to a backline if you need to, or finding Stormy, for example, getting that Wings by Wings or the Purify out from there. But also, it's just a sense that both lineups have a pick-off potential.
Yep.
We might see some action up here up top, or at least trying to get some battle spells out. This is a level 4 Sakai's too. They might force an initiation before this turtle. They're going to force him back. EWC not level 4 yet, so doesn't have the kick. So they got to respect that. They'll be zoned out for now from RRQ. But SRG, we'll see if they actually want to just give this one away.
Okay, they finally decide to go for the commit. This time around, Last Insanity already burned as well, literally burning Dyron down. But they gain the control in the turtle, but that's a beautiful stun coming in from Cram. Doesn't allow them to secure it for themselves, however. There's the heavy spin as well coming in from Sutsujin. So SRG.OG might just try to fight this. There's no heavy spin anymore for Sutsujin, but the way of the dragon is still there. They might actually find the kill on Sakai's, and they will. SOD landing as well. Toy gets to participate in that fight.
Wow. I mean, this has been the story so far in the series. It's like these team fights always break out, but then they're extended. We're going to look at the instant replay here brought to us by STC. This was a good option for Sutsujin to be like, guys, I'm going to bring them here. Come on, rotate. We got the kick soon. They go for that, and then they continue this fight in. It's very interesting because then even Toy joins on in. So it was one of those cases where RQ ends up getting a lot more than they should have because of that constant pressure from SRG. Cram could be in trouble here.
Oh, the damage coming in from Sutsujin on the Akai in the early game. You also have to respect it, but EWC in the mid lane gets picked up as well. Sakai's has been very aggressive in his use of the X-Borg, not hesitating to use the Last Insanity whenever he sees a potential kill.
Yeah.
And I feel that so far it kind of has been working for SRG, because even for Sutsujin, he's been playing the Akai very aggressively. In a way, the Akai does have a decent amount of damage that he gets to bring out in the early stages of the game, which allows him to kind of keep up in terms of the farming as well, mind you. But now it's Yumes who might just get picked off, pinned by the heavy spin. But another Last Insanity coming in from Sutsujin, and Yumes is actually alive. So everyone's just working hand in hand to keep each other alive.
I felt like so much was thrown at Yumes, and Yumes is still able to survive that. Yeah, he burned the flicker. So that's something. That's a battle spell down, and RQ has continued to put pressure where they can. But still, even up in this top side, Cram's going to be bullied out a little bit as that work's being done. But the turtle's up, so that's the focus now as both teams rotate for this turtle. Already at half health here.
Another Last Insanity committed. Better Dare Strike 2. Great control over the Lord, and somehow Sakai's gets to secure it for themselves. Dyron doing a great job zoning out multiple members of SRG, but will be forced to use the Purify just to get away because he nearly gets caught in that situation. So despite how things have been going for the past 2 games, I feel like there's just as much action, but it doesn't necessarily convert into that much kills for this time around.
For now.
For now. For now.
This is just one of those, I mean, with both lineups, they're maybe a little bit slower to cook than the previous games. That's so far what we've seen. EWC, I don't think he's going to reach that. Not going to be able to set up the kick even with a flicker available. Doesn't want to take the chance, but that's the thing. These lineups need some time to go ahead and scale up, to build up, to get to, that initial burst of the power spake, as they like to go ahead and say it, from our boys yesterday. But eventually they'll get there, but what it does is it puts you in the situation where the game is pretty much even and the objectives are for the taking. Now, both lineups, especially when it comes to the gold laners, will be a little bit different, where you can put pressure with that Moskov still across the map, building up there for Toy. But the gold laners are keeping it even, and that's the main thing. The big part is once we get to maybe that first Lord. Oh, hold on.
No BMIs left, but there's a Purify. Quickly casts that Blazing Duet. So that was almost a good call. I mean, it was for RRQ because it forced out the Purify, but now there are multiple members of SRG who are rotating down bottom. Will EWC get to actually recall his way out of this? Doesn't have the way of the dragon anymore, but still decides to show himself just to add a bit more pressure there for SRG to not commit. So at least they get to defend their structures, and that's another thing. Like, we're already 6 minutes into the game, but both teams are holding on pretty well to their turrets.
I feel like this one has been more of a, a respect in terms of each other's lineups, even with just knowing that EWC is on this Cho. Him showing up like just a little bit delayed them, or stopped actually SRG from being like, let's make a play on this tier 1, going for it, but Yumes will hold on to that Tsunami Slam. They're going to fight for the third turtle, though.
Oh, they get to force out the Crimson Beacon at least, but EWC still doesn't go for the way of the dragon on Stormy. Innocent gets the last hit on the turtle, and it was a heavy spin committed just to get out for RRQ. So this is where you start seeing some of their skills that are meant for setups be used defensively instead, and that's when you know that SRG are getting hold of the better game so far. We'll just decide to trade things out, however, so at least they get 2 turrets down in the bottom lane.
RQ's getting map. That's what they're getting. Even if they lose that turtle, doesn't seem like they're too worried about it. Again, this is a team with a Moskov. They'll go for map pressure instead. And yeah, you said it, part of the game plan for both of them as we take a look at the items is, again, burning battle spells. We're looking at 3 Purifies for RRQ. You've got 2 for SRG. So part of it needs to be, how do we get these Purifies down? Rins, take us a couple shots here. Stormy's been doing work. He's got the glowing wand now. Cram's a little more defensive. War Axe and Dominance Ice locked in. So, big part of this is that when that Lord does come up, both teams are pretty much on even ground.
Yep.
It comes down to that execution of the lineups that they have, and they're kind of contrasting in a way, because other than the setup potential on both sides with either the Cho or the Kalea for Yumes, you have these windows of burst damage with a Farsa, for example, that go ahead and set things up. And so RRQ, if they want to get an advantage, they're going to keep going for these turrets. They might go for a kick. They kick Sakai's.
Oh, now they decide to burst him down, but he has the last insanity to escape and will actually try to get back to at least deal a bit more damage. But that's where you see how SRG.OG are just able to use their skills together in conjunction so well, either to protect one another or keep one another safe. So even when RRQ decides to go for those kinds of engages, commits on the way of the dragon, even the heavy spin, they don't necessarily get much value out of it, and that's major resources that are burned on their side. So things will get to be a lot better for SRG if they decide to pick up the pace this time around.
I'm actually really... It's surprising that that was even an attempt. Because EWC doesn't have the flicker now. That's actually a pretty big battle spell that the Cho needs to possibly set things up. That turret's going to be pushed down by RQ up top. They're going to go ahead and start up this Lord. SRG takes control of it. It's a half health. And let's see if RRQ can go ahead and contest it. They're showing face here already in the jungle.
No fettered airstrike for Stormy, but still decides to join the fight here. Last Insanity taking down EWC. Dyren zoning out the other members. Toy also works on Stormy from behind. Yumes will be the next to fall. It's a double kill for Sakai's, and he also gets that turtle. Now Dyren is still alive up against 2 members, but Toy is actually making things happen. Finds a triple up against SRG.
Okay, they got the Lord for SRG, but hey, RRQ wins the fight. They get a triple for Toy. He's going to go 1v1 actually against Cram. He'll have to clear this out. Dyren is there too, but they'll hold it down in the mid lane, and Cram just going to go ahead and jump on into the air and just wait for the rest of the team to come back. So this Lord basically doesn't get much at all for SRG, if anything.
Yeah. They'll be able to take it down immediately before it gets any further into the map. They've equalized the score. It's both 7 kills, but the lead, the map, the way that Toy is just able to pressure it has been doing wonders for RRQ, and now they decide to work on Dyren in the bottom lane. EWC will be surprising them from behind, however, decides to commit the hit onto Innocent, but there will be no follow-up, and now Innocent responds with the Blazing Do It, forces out the flicker as well.
Look at Toy.
Look at how these teams just keep forcing things out of each other, but again, as you mentioned, Toy, he just gets the better trades.
Toy's doing work. Cram's going to spot him out, jumps on him with Brazos Fighter. He's going to go hand in hand, a gun versus a sword, gets the stun down, but Toy still has some space to work with. Last Insanity comes through as Sakai's will finally shut down Toy.
There's no way you could get out of that. Multiple members of SRG And the way that Cram just decided to go for that skill which could deal a lot more damage rather than enhancing your sustain, because that's all he really needed to work on. It was just Toy all alone that he needed to take down. And now somehow they've literally minimized the lead that earlier was at around 1k for RRQ, and now they might just be able to work on this tier 1 in mid. Tsunami Slap already committed onto EDOC, gets bursted down once again. SOD will be landing. Will Toy actually decide, or it did not actually land? But fortunately, they get to defend that tier 1 in mid.
They put work in to defend the tier 1. They'll do it. I'm not sure if they still want to fight. Cram takes a little bit of damage. We'll go for the stun. He's got to get out of here, though. And RQ still staying around this mid lane. They might look to go for another play. They're going to be in trouble. Dyren on the run, still holds on to the Purify, but still close as ever between the both teams here. So you're seeing a lot of these fights, a lot of the initiations that are happening, and this is what I was talking about with playing into the windows of the lineup. You can see between both gold laners, they are imperative for both the teams here. You've got already that try set up there with the items for Innocent. He is going to be doing a lot of damage with the Blazing Do It, but even so for Toy, he's got the Trinity, but he's also got the Wind of Nature, and that's going to be big in terms of these fights. There's been some instances where we see them going and just getting battle spells down from SRG.OG Esports, and this might be one of them. Goes for the kick.
Oh, they get to isolate the jungler, but the last insanity will be committed still. Better airstrike as well, somehow keeping him safe, but Cram all alone finds a stun onto Toy, but up against 3 might not be able to survive this. EDOC on the other side of the map gets traded down as well, and Sutsujin gets bursted down as the Akai.
Toy's in trouble.
Blazing Do It, and now Toy definitely in trouble as he gets taken down. Flicker still available for Yumes, keeping him safe as well, but Dyren barely surviving this fight. Innocent will not allow Rins to close in anymore, and they will freely get their hands on this Lord.
Oh, you can see the smiles here from Stormy. That was a fight that they needed. They got control of it, and it was started from EDOC. This was all with the kick. Cram buys time. There's 2 separate fights going on here, but they were able to go ahead and separate the right members to win the advantage for SRG.OG Esports. Again, they get themselves the Lord. They'll go ahead and play into this. And that's always the thing, it's always a risk with the setup roamers that we see, especially the Cho.
Yeah.
If you go in with a kick and there isn't the follow-up that you're looking for, it puts yourself in a tough position to be in where you just end up getting punished. And now for SRG, they'll walk into this. They need the base turrets. They have to go ahead and even out the playing field in terms of map space, but they've got the gold advantage now. They're not going to let up here.
That was just a tidal strike into the Tsunami Slam, forces out the heavy spin from Sutsujin already. Oh, look at these 2 guys just going at it. And again, going back to what you said, I feel like for RRQ, really, is Sekai still the best target to go for in terms of those setups if you're EDOC? Because it's more than just the follow-up that they could provide. It's also whether or not that target can actually make it out alive. But now RRQ with a clapback tries to go for Stormy first. Won't be able to find a way out of it anymore. They know that they've already taken out some resources away from SRG.OG. So now they get themselves back.
I'm not sure if that was all on the same mindset there on what they wanted to do around the Lord, because they got Sandwich in. There's a Tsunami Sam. They get the Purify out. They're still going to fight it down the mid. Toy is there, trying to clear that wave out to get this tier 1. EDOC might still jump in on this. He's got to be careful as Cram locks him in.
Oh, gets to stun multiple members, and that's gonna be a beautiful opportunity for Sekais to go in with the double. Innocent gets to shred down Sutsujin time and time again. Whenever the team fights break out, it's only Rins left, another bravest fighter from Crab. Yume's blocking their path, and the Tsunami Slap to finish things off as SRG.OG in the blink of an eye seal the deal and take match point.
Game 3 in the bag here. Match point now for Selangor Red Giants OG Esports. It looked like that Lord push might have not have been the thing they wanted to happen, but they chose to fight. They chose to win the fight, and that's all they needed. Man, that X-Borg too at the end there. Sekai's able to get the double. You can't win to nature. The flamethrower there, it's a little bit too much. You're getting cooked at that point. So it was a interesting game, to say the least here. The decisions that were made, it was still probably the most even game, I would say, for the majority of this early to mid-game transition. But, you know, it's just tough to see because there was clearly some initiations that didn't go the way of RRQ. And I know our panel has a lot to say about game number 3, so let's go ahead and throw it over to them.
So the X-Borg did burn down the formation of RRQ. It felt like watching a city under fire, dealing double damage just for showing up.
Triple damage at that point.
Yeah.
You know, I am not always a believer of the X-Borg. I've always thought it looks good on paper, but it never seems to perform, at least for a lot of the games I see. But Sekai's made that thing look sexy.
It looked really good. And I think a lot of it just boiled down to, like, can you break the Firaga armor?
Yep.
I think we saw multiple times that RRQ made some pretty good attempts, but as soon as the War Axe after the BRB got purchased, it became really hard, right? Because Dairen already took 2 deaths prior to that fight, and then Sutsujin, as much as that heavy spin is such a powerful tool, they're kind of waiting on SRG to make that first initial move, which again, they held until the very end to make it happen.
Yeah, and even when they did burst the Firaga armor, all of their kits were used up at that point, and you still got a Feathered Airstrike coming soon. You still have so many things that you have to worry about. And I think just Sekai's timing, even when he didn't use it for a Lord or a Turtle, he always made sure he got a kill. Overall on the map, just played an amazing job.
The biggest worry that I had in this game, it was mainly because every single time we saw a fight actually break out, towers, tier 1 and as well as tier 2 collapsing off of the second turtle in the game. You usually only see one tower go down because tier 2s still have its, like, quote-unquote armor and magic resist still in play. In that sense, we saw that Toy was walking away with a full item ahead of Innocent. That Winds of Nature was supposed to be the big game changer during that first and second Lord, but it just didn't matter because he ended up dying over to the raw true damage from SRG side on a fully stacked up War Axe.
Yeah, and this is where we revisit one of the key ideas for drafts, especially here in MSC, your damage profile. Yes, utility-wise, everything looks great for RRQ. You're playing around the Moskov, but at the end of the day, SRG just had like raw brute force damage across the board.
Yeah, just about every type of damage you could think of, from burst with the Farza to true damage with the X-Borg to shred with the Claude. They checked every single box in the book, and that was something that we saw from RQ in the beginning, is how are they going to deal with some of these heroes? They were just lacking in certain departments.
I think a lot of it was just on Toy, right? Toy was the only person realistically who can kind of not only break the formation, but like hard carry these fights, especially if it's a traditional front to back.
Yep, true magic, physical damage, true damage, physical damage, magic damage, all now leading to emotional damage for RQ, as SRG are now at match point. 1 game win away from securing their slot in the semifinals and eliminating RQ Hoshi, the team that selected them for this matchup. So we're gonna go on a quick break and let's see what'll happen in game number 4.
Hey everyone, it's Eterna here at the Key Wall, and this is where all the teams' keys will be stored before and after their match. Now you can see here, all the keys are here for everyone to see, whether you're still a contender or if your keys have already been crushed. Before every match, each captain from each team will be able to pick up their keys to bring it over to the stage. As you can see here, RRQ's and SRG's keys are not available because that's the upcoming match that we're going to be seeing in just a bit. Now, after we figure out who the winner is, the winners get to come back here and place their keys back onto the wall. However, the losers, their keys will be crushed for everyone to see. So the big question now is, whose keys will be able to be stored back onto the wall? Whose keys will be crushed by the end of the day? And finally, whose key will be finally placed into the final totem to be crowned at the MSC 2025 champion?
Just a bit, we're going to be heading into game number 4, where Selangor Red Giants OG Esports, the defending champions of MSC, could potentially just end this series and secure their slot in the semifinals against a team that has been hungry for redemption against them, RRQ, the team that selected them. Selections is the name of the game. It was acknowledged earlier by these two teams that it's all going to be about the draft. So what now do we expect for RRQ as the clapback? Where do they focus on? Is it the mid? Is it the jungle? Where?
I'm personally scared because I don't know which side it's going to be on, right? Because blue side, it seems like SRG has a much better read on the situation. But then red side, you're able to get those big power picks like we saw in game number 2 for RRQ, right? It really is hard to say because I feel like if I'm in RRQ's position, I think we might have to take red side one more time just to kind of see what we are allowing SRG to do and respond with our own sweet synergies.
Yeah, I think as RRQ, there's nothing wrong with having first pick there. I'm no longer... I don't think I was ever really on board with the Jushin up front first pick. I think unless they ban out the Farza first, I'm still a strong believer that the Farza outranges it. I think it just kind of outplays it overall. It also gives you burst damage, something that the Jushin doesn't, and it just makes your drafting phase a little bit easier. So I think that RQ can take whatever side they want. They just need to maybe not be too stuck in one direction, because we've seen SRG be very willing to flex around and find answers.
I personally think that could change, right? Because so far, we've seen other teams get away with the Jushin in these 2v2s. And how do they do it? They punish their opponents by letting them push first and then using the Jushin to really tax their HP as they are leaving the lane.
But were those top 8 teams?
They were top 8 teams. TLPH did that.
Okay. Against who? Against another top 8 team?
I mean, at this point at the knockout stage, they're all on top 8.
Exactly, but my point is you can no longer slide through the cracks just first picking Jushin. You know, that's my point, is you can't just do this. You're not in group stages against, for lack of a better term, but slightly weaker teams, You have to really be ready for what SRG is going to bring to you.
And I'm all for that, honestly, just consider changing your priorities on the Jushin while we prioritize getting sweet new skins in the game, as the Metro Zero skin line is coming soon. It's arriving at the MLBB battlefield with a stunning new series of skins. What visual wonders await as cyberpunk meets traditional culture? Stay tuned for the upcoming Metro Zero cinematic trailer if you haven't seen it yet.
Wake up, Samurai. We got a spirit to ignite.
I missed that one. I missed that one, boys.
I was waiting for your contribution, man. But it's all right. You already knocked down the best contribution that we've had heading into this game number 4. Take that Jushin out of the picture for RRQ. It's like, yeah, I gotta agree with you. They were focused a little bit too much into one direction. It's like they're insecure, and I don't know what for about their damage profile. They're leaning a little bit towards utility, slow chip. We need to see RRQ bring out bursts, and when they did that with their Lapu Lapu, that's when it worked out very well for them.
Yeah, what do they have in jungle in game number 1? They had Claude.
They had
RQ. It was
RRQ was playing.
RRQ
RRQ was playing
Claude.
Fredra in game 1.
Fredrin, I mean, what did they have in their gold lane? What was their gold lane?
Claude,
Fredrin, and they had the Lapu for some burst damage. Something there. I mean, they did make it work in game 1. They are going to swap over to red side this time, but I will say SRG didn't have the Farza in game 1, and SRG quickly found some answers, I feel like. RRQ, though, on red side, on second pick. SRG doing the same exact draft they did in game 2, except this time their third ban is a little different.
Oh, now it's on RRQ's hands if whether or not that Farsa Kimmy trade will be committed. Because if it's open for SRG, they can lock the Kimmy first pick, then RRQ will have to pick up their Farsa in the first phase of their draft.
No, I'm also worried about YSS, like Tex mentioned here, right?
That's what SRG picked first up last time, and that's why they banned out the Basha Kai. It's like, listen, we're going to make you do it. RRQ does ban out the YSS this time. A little bit of a fun fact, though. Yuumi now holds the most total assists in MSC history. Is that 418?
Yeah. Is that your new nickname for Yums? You call him Yuumi now?
I just said Yums. It's my American accent, I'm sorry.
That's pretty impressive because think of it this way, JPL has been playing he has been a staple, but he has also been playing for a significantly longer time compared to Yums. But hey, first picks in the draft already through.
And RRQ do end up getting the Farsa. It's SRG telling RRQ to, you know what, you guys commit the trade, whether it's the Kimmy, whether it's the Farsa. I think SRG needs to lock down the Kimmy now. It worked very well for them during the group stages, especially paired up with the Kalea.
Yes and no, but somebody needs to make a sacrifice here, right? It's either EXP or Jungle who has to make the sacrifice. At the end of the day, Kimmy unfortunately needs a frontliner to be good at what she does. The 2v2 is great, but it looks like they have locked in for themselves the glue early on.
Yeah, that's what you mentioned about the front line, and now with the glue on the board, the Kimmy gets an excellent front line paired up with it, and the Kalea as well. So it ticks your condition, Gideon.
RQ takes the Lancelot up front. Sushijin now going to be forced to prove himself on match point, letting us know, listen, I got this. I can run the Assassins. I know I like to play utility, but I still have something up my sleeve, and I do like this against the Kimmy. Kimmy, yes, as a mid laner, doesn't have the largest range. You do have some dash, you do have some kite, but Lancelot is one of the few assassins who can quickly close that distance.
Yeah, but doesn't this mean that RQ now will have to commit a Fredrin ban? Or they're just willing to give the Fredrin to the hands of SRG, but it's a tried and tested combo. Fredrin and Kimmy together, paired up with the Kalea, just does so much for the Kimmy that as RRQ might not, that puts too much pressure onto the Farsa and the Lancelot to make sure they get Stormy down.
I think that right now, with what RRQ is trying to do, is trying to kind of set the tone for the draft, right? Especially within this first phase. And with SRG, we have like sub-synergies, nothing really solid like we saw in game number 2. But immediately, we are making sure that RRQ is saying, hey, number 1, we need to get rid of burst damage style heroes, right? That's why they're getting rid of the likelihood of Joy. I think they're also going to get rid of another assassin. I would assume Hayabusa in this particular case to not only protect the Farsa so that it doesn't combo alongside the Kalea.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. I do like the idea of the Fredrin ban as well. Either could work out, especially with the fact that so much utility jungle's already gone. But yeah, SRG also needing some burst damage for themselves, like you said, maybe something like the Hayabusa. Or do they just go for the double marksman, tank front line, you know, wait it out, take it slow, it's match point. They do have opportunity for that overall.
And I think this is the tough part now for RQ, because it's literally their choice, whether it's the Fredrin ban, which it is, or whether it was going to be a Hayabusa ban, which it could have been. Now, Hayabusa is potentially looking good for SRG. As we mentioned, a lot of the tanky fighter-style junglers are gone, so they don't necessarily need to lean into the double marksman, but I think they will. Granger still looks really good for SRG, unless RRQ decides to take it away.
I think Granger is definitely a possibility. RQ could easily scoop that up, though, up front, unless our SRG says, no, we're going to ban that out, too, and that gets rid of more burst damage potential. They get rid of the Cho. Solid ban.
Really, really good foreshadowing coming in from, it's like not foreshadowing, but foresight coming in from Arcadia. Because now, because we've seen this 2 times already where Kesku is trying to corner the jungle options. Unless they want to play something like Xborg again, right now there's a lot more burst coming out from RRQ's side to maximize that value.
Yeah, and speaking of burst, if RRQ lock in something like a Hilda here, potentially thinking about a Granger pickup of SRG, I think SRG wins. Because if that's a Hilda, good thing it wasn't! Because this pick for Ida only shows up when RRQ are on, alright boys, game phase mode, game time mode. We can't lose this. E-Doc's signature pick in the roam.
This is so good. I was thinking whether or not they wanted to get the Gatot for themselves. At least then they have some form of counter-engage against the Kalia. But unfortunately, in this case, Tigreal works the exact same way, if not a little bit more precise with a scalpel rather than going for the big, heavy left hand.
I wonder if we see something spicy here from SRG.OG, something a little out of the norm. They've been able to surprise us with a few picks so far, and I think, yeah, we could keep it simple, go for like Hayabusa Granger, Moskov locked in. I am a little worried about I'm kind of a little worried about Assassin up front, but also now with the Tigreal, Assassin isn't looking too bad. Something that's not just going to get bullied around. There goes the Hayabusa. Last pick for RRQ, though. Do they just go for the Granger?
Yeah, I think that might be their best bet. They need to even out the range. Yeah, they do lock in the Granger. Oh, RRQ brought out their big guns as E-Doc's Tigreal. But SRG's lineup could be very good as well. It's a 50-50 for me.
Yeah, it's a really big 50-50. I think there are a lot of counterplay for each of the individual lanes, especially for the mid duo. I think the problem is when it comes down to like first interactions, right? How is Lethal Wanderer going to go? How is the first turtle going to happen? Because we need to see E-Doc hit level 4.
All right, will this be game number 5 or will it end here? RRQ and SRG, the fans in the arena, you need to show your love and make some noise for the teams you're supporting. Brigida, Naisu, take us in.
Thank you so much once again to the panel for breaking it down here in game number 4. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it there. It's match point right now for SRG.OG Esports as they move on forward. Or can we get to a game number 5 here? A maxed out series for this one. A trip, of course, to the semifinals ahead of them. RRQ's got to pull something up their sleeves. They brought out the Tigreal for E-Doc. Brigida, do you think this is right? I mean, we heard the sentiments from the panel.
Yep.
You know, it could come down to some big plays coming out here from RRQ.
I mean, when it does come to these do-or-die situations, those clutch moments wherein you have to bring in these picks, your familiarity, your comforts, undeniably, we've seen it multiple times. But whether or not these will be the right calls, because I'm worried from the way we've been seeing the past few games that RRQ, E-Doc may have been a bit too decisive on these calls, but it has to be all of them being decisive and coming together to follow up. So maybe that's my biggest worry. But in terms of playmaking, setups, okay, for sure E-Doc is going to be delivering on this Tigreal.
He has to. I think, you know, that's one of the main things. Like, anytime we see one of these series, it's always the case. You know, it's the team that's able to go ahead and overlap the ultimates better or have the better execution, like we like to say, or make the less mistakes. But in this case, you know, as we take a look at the emblems too, I think a big part of this, once again, comes in the hands of E-Doc. He's got to be able to set things up. Now, you sprinkle in some of that responsibility with Dyrant, like the XP laners are to be expected so far in our current meta. But I guess one of the biggest differences here in specifics to E-Doc is the Tigreal, it's a little bit more, I would say, assured to get a setup instead of the Cho. You can see already the pressure, though.
Oh, fortunately, Rins gets to reposition, so won't get taken out just yet. But the Phantom Execution gets delayed by a bit through that knock-up. Still, everyone gets to survive, though. Maybe not Stormy if the last hit still connects, but they just get to force out the recalls, and I feel like that's already something massive for RRQ. Dyrant literally going at it. Yume's forced to flicker. Better Dare Strike also committed by Rins. So they've done a really good job already, even without getting these kills.
Here, Dyrant's coming back. He's like, I have a flicker. Got to the Dark Wave. He goes anyway. I knew he was going to do it. He had the flicker available, and they get the call to come back. So RRQ goes in, gets a double for Dyrant and the turtle.
Okay, so they did not settle with just the recalls, with just the battle spells. They had to get the kills because I feel like that's where RRQ literally gets activated, when they're able to just set the tempo and keep the pace, but now they seem to go after Toy. He has no way out of that storm, or Innocent gets very low, however, but now they're gonna play it safe. They're already happy with what they got there. That's the trade. It's a bit delayed, but that's the trade for SRG for now.
Yeah, it's still the case here. You know, in like we've seen. Oh, hold on, mid lane. Rin's gonna be in trouble. Wings by wings, flaps on around, and will still be alive. Suzujin sees Stormy so low, but I don't think he's gonna be able to cover the ground. So this is the thing, you know, you have this trading going on. The big part of this is now Cram has to go against a 2-0 Phoveus, and like we've seen, Phoveus, even without kills, will usually be able to just kind of tank up 3 dudes, you know, 1v3 if he has to. This gives him a little bit of the advantage, but Cram on the glue is still relatively going to be fine, at least in the lane.
Yeah.
But once these next objective fights break out, that's where, you know, it's going to be kind of important that Cram is able to go ahead and utilize the glue against Dairon's Phoveus here.
Yeah.
But also, it's just the case. Look at the damage already on Innocent.
Cancelled by the knockup from the title strike, though, but the Phantom Execution just in time. Sujin gets to land it on Innocent, now looking after Stormy. Doesn't land the Thorn Rose, though. But still, that's a lot. They got the kill on Innocent and Yumes. And this is the time where EWC gets a lot more online because he's hit his level 4, so there are a lot more angles that RRQ can decide to play with, all aside from what you mentioned about Dairon being on an early 2-0. We don't even know what item he's going for first.
We don't, but look at this, the fight for the turtle. Suzujin proven that he can play the assassins as well, of course. Turtle secured, second one in the hands of RRQ. SRG might have a kill on the board, but other than that play they made on Toy earlier on, they haven't been able to really do anything. RRQ is playing into the composition that they have. This is always the case with a Pharsa. Pharsa's damage is just pretty tough to deal with when you're getting set up in the mid lane, especially around this. They're going to go with the implosion in the setup.
Dairon goes in, but has the flicker to keep himself alive. Actually went for the blade armor first item, but ooh, the damage from Rins already too much. EWC actually finds a setup onto Yumes in the top lane, and Toy gets last hit. What better way to establish this early game for RRQ. Toy gets involved, gets some kills, and they've been very clean in terms of whoever they decide to go for in terms of setup so far.
He just got the Sky Piercer as well, so, you know, unfortunately he didn't have earlier before he gets skills, but now he's got it, and things for RRQ are going to go ahead and set things up. This is why the positioning for the roamers are imperative. You can see EWC right now playing the patient game. He's going to go ahead, gives the information, implosion, traction pulse is already going to be used, and EWC is waiting for that ultimate to be available. It should be up soon. He's going to conceal anyway.
Sacred Hammer finds Cram, forces out the flicker. And they still get to hand over that purple buff to Sujin regardless. So now he's one level ahead of Sekai's. Not looking too good because it seems like RRQ, they're just so in sync right now. They're covering the map so well. And they know where they just want to transition next. I mean, look at where EWC positions himself. One bush after another.
Brigida, he's like, okay, I didn't have the implosion earlier on. I have it now. You know, so he went in with Sacred Hammer, that was fine, didn't get anything. But ultimately, they're playing around this last turtle of the game. The turret in the bottom does go down. Traction Pulse going to be used again, but tanky enough to deal with this. They might try to go ahead and just set up for the turtle, just focus on that. Everybody from RRQ is here. Sakai's, I don't think he makes it in time, so that's 3 for 3 objectives now for RRQ. At least for SRG, they go and put a push on that tier 1 turret. That's about the best that Innocent can do, at least for now.
Oh.
But the eyes are set here for the tier 1 in the mid.
Yep. Yumes can potentially go in if he finds an angle, but he will be respecting RRQ for now. Innocent goes in with the SOD just to join his other teammates, as Dairon is kind of forced to respond as well to the pressure that is being applied by Innocent here. I mean, that's the most they can do for now. Not until they feel like they have sufficient resources in their arsenal. They're working on a double marksman lineup nonetheless, so I feel like the late game won't be that big of a problem if ever SRG.OG are able to extend the fight. But does Innocent know that Rins is there?
Well, they're going to know he's there anyway.
Oh, now they find out!
Oh.
The Feathered Airstrike lands onto Innocent. That was so unfortunate.
The question was did Rins know? You know, like, I'm pretty sure because he calls Sujin either to come clear that wave and then just spots him out. So Innocent going down there is really unfortunate for SRG. This is probably the biggest lead that we've seen so far in the series now. RRQ holding on to almost a 6K gold lead. You can see the difference here in terms of itemization. Toy has no problem taking down this tier 2 up the top side. So the map is pretty open for RRQ. Conceal's going to be used.
Okay.
I don't think they are able to catch anyone, but if they get a shield this early on,
wow,
that's great for RRQ.
Oh my goodness, that was a Purify already forced out of Stormy when all other members of RRQ weren't even nearby. But the Ogi Shadow Kill gets split up against 4 members. Somehow Cram also gets to mount on EDOC, but they won't be going with the fight just yet. Tidal Strike to deny Sutsujin. Spear of Misery also just to push him back a bit. But look at the damage and the sustain coming in from RRQ now. Innocent next on the chopping block. That's 3 members of SRG just deleted. Even when we thought they could actually find a way to fight back.
Such a clean game right now from RRQ. Sakai's in trouble, forced off with the Feathered Airstrike, and this is an early base turret being knocked down from RRQ. SRG can't do anything but watch as the base turret falls, and meanwhile the Lord has been worked on and secured by Sutsujin. And this is going to be a big play now for RRQ to march into a base that is vulnerable for SRG.
When you said they secure the Lord, I had to check if Innocent had an SOD because of like the amount of times it happened. But yeah, I mean, there have been so many resources burned out here by SRG just to push back the members of RRQ, just to force them to walk away. And I mean, they did successfully do so, especially in terms of trying to at least push EDOC away, but that didn't stop Dyron, that didn't stop the other members, but that's a Tsunami Slam already committed onto EDOC. Won't be able to cast a setup just yet, but look at how Rince positions himself with the Feathered Airstrike. So Tsujin goes in with the Phantom Execution, finds the kill onto Stormy. There's a knock as well coming in from Yums, but look at the Rhapsodies from Toy, now isolating Sakai's and gets a double on the Granger.
A great initiation, a great sandwich play under the tier 2. RRQ balloons themselves to an 11,000 gold lead. Can they end the game here?
It seems like the kingdom is only after one thing. Sutsujin gets the kill on Innocent. Rin's great positioning just to clear the waves, and they will deliver indeed. We are heading into a game number 5.
RRQ felt the presence of the Red Giants at the walls, and they came out just swinging in this game 4. Absolute perfection of a game for them. A massive lead, the cleanest we've seen so far in the series. And it brings it down to now, really, what are we going to expect for Game 5? There was no answer here for the pressure that was put on from RRQ in general. And we got to see a very great performance as well from Sutsujin and just the squad to be able to make this Lancelot work, to make this composition work. Again, the Farsa proving how much of a threat it can be for a lot of this. But again, it comes down to, that early start. These XP laners, I'm telling you, if they get an early lead, if they are built up, they are allowed to put so much pressure on early team fights, and then the team follows through from that. So again, amazing game 4, very one-sided for RRQ. Let's throw it over to the panel to see what they have to say.
Pretty much went as much as we expected, though 50-50 were our vibes after the draft. At the end of the day, RRQ with one great rotation bot side to start things off with 2 kills on the board for them, completely broke the rotation and map presence that SRG needed from their glue, and we are going to a game number 5. Gentlemen, how are you feeling about that?
I'm feeling excited about it. I think it's amazing. I was a little worried after SRG.OG got to match point. I thought for sure we were only going to see game 4, but RRQ puts on their big boy pants, they strap up, and they come in and take another win.
Oh yeah, Sutsujin played a phenomenal early game. I think because of him, they've basically won by the 3rd minute, right? We saw that double kill that happened down by bot side. The fact that we didn't see Stormy hit level 4 on time, the fact that we also saw the punishment of Cram losing out on 2 waves because of that dragged out death. Really good read coming in from Rins. They took the risk of taking damage for the side of Rins as well as Sutsujin, and I think they won that coin flip.
Yeah, and I think with that, SRG taking some of those losses early on, I think it was one of the first highlights we saw in the mid lane. Yums went for that Tsunami Slam, and I think maybe they overestimated their strength a little too early on there. They were unable to get the kill onto IDOC. They were unable to do certain things, and that's what you kind of pay the price for. Yes, the Kimmy is amazing mid laner, but early game, the damage isn't always there, and I think SRG maybe should have waited it out a little bit longer.
Yeah, and it would be your EXP laner is losing lane. Glue has a better map presence compared to, or excuse me, the Phovis has a better map presence compared to the Glue. Sekai's jungle keeps getting invaded. The raw damage early on, much better for RRQ. They just played this to their draft strengths.
That's the thing. I feel like, honestly, I think that SRG had a chance if everything went even up until mid-game. But because of that double kill down by the bottom side, pre-level 4, it spiraled so far out of control for the side of SRG, allowing RRQ to basically do whatever they want, right? It's the base rule of capitalism of the rich get richer, the poor get poorer.
I gotta point something else out. Last year, Rins, game number 4 on a Farza, came up short.
Yeah.
Game number 4, MSC 2025, he is the carry, most damage dealt on the way to redeem himself. That's poetry right there.
Yeah, you couldn't have written it any better way. The fact that happened for him, so I feel like he's already gotten his redemption, but for him, redemption doesn't come until they get that win over SRG. And now I think moving forward, SRG are going to be looking at Rins and what he ends up with in the mid lane, and most importantly, what Cram ends up with. As good as the Glue was on paper, it just didn't give the presence that they needed. Again, you also have to credit RRQ for what you mentioned, to be that really great rotation early on.
I mean, the brass tax was already paid, and it costed them everything. They could not break out of that poverty line for so long in the match, and you could tell because of the items that they had, they could basically kind of walk around and do whatever they want, right? I will stat check you each and every time unless I make a significant mistake, but it's really hard because we saw the snowball of Dyren, I get a lead, and therefore I will protect Rins. Rins gets his lead, now both of us will go down to Toy. Now Toy's protected by 2 people, now everybody's having a good time.
So I got a question. Do we think like the 2 most important lanes right now, the 2 most important positions right now to focus on in draft are mid lane and EXP?
Yeah.
Is that are we on board with that?
I'm on that.
I think red side, best side right now. Red side, best side, because the two...
It's tied, though.
It's tied 2-2, but keep in mind about what the opening picks were, right? The Kalia gets shown on that blue side, or even the Zhu Xin gets showed up, both of which has a very clean line for the both drafters, Arcadian as well as Kescue, to kind of run it down on their opponents.
Yeah, so I was wondering, because that was going through my mind, do we think SRG will pick red side? They were able to win that one blue side game with kind of the cheeky draft that they pulled off, those 2 bans, kind of really catching RQ off guard. Is that plan spent now? And are they forced back to, because normally it's not so even. Normally it's not a 50-50 on red or blue side, and that makes this last game even harder in terms of draft.
Yeah, I think this is where we can marry your 2 opinions here, where yes, for me, it's XP lane, mid lane trade as your prio, but definitely SRG needs to pick red side here, heading into this game number 5. They do have that choice. Hopefully they do pick up that choice, because if they go for the same priorities again, similar to game number 4, there's not a lot of wiggle room in what you could adjust. Even let's say hypothetically you put the Fredrin first phase instead of the Glue, so it's paired up with the Kimmy-Kalea. Yeah, you have a solid connection already at the center of the map, but then what does Cram end up with? And RRQ haven't been shy with making sure that Cram ends up with a hero that does much better things for RRQ than it does for SRG.
I have to agree with that, which is why the pocket picks need to start coming out, right? I think that Terizla needs to be a serious consideration now that both, again, we've seen the Phobius happen a couple of times, but more importantly, the CC has been banned out consistently in the first phase.
I would say also for SRG, one of their, so far we've seen some of their greatest pocket picks is in their jungle. We saw that export come out, and I think if they slot up, I'm wondering if maybe the pocket pick should be elsewhere other than EXP, and maybe make sure they get a decent EXP and Mage in early on, and then let your flexibility be around marksman, be around jungle, be elsewhere on the map. Because after that export game, it feels like Sekai's can literally pretty much pick about whatever they want and be able to win a game.
Yeah, I think outside of the usual Farsas, Juicins, and Kimmys that we've been seeing really have a great time ever since the group stage here at MSC, these two teams are going to have to consider heroes such as like the Valentina and Faramis coming back as options, especially the Faramis. We've seen a couple of games, even in wildcards, where Faramis comes in big for a team that their opponents didn't expect it to come out. Suddenly, they're so aggressive in the early because they know they can play around the Nether Realm, and then the opposing team gets rattled. Maybe that's something these two teams might want to consider and lean into heading into game number 5. Are there any picks that you're looking for? You said you're looking for the Terizla. Is there a specific pick that you're looking for here, Trex?
Let me see that Lu Yi.
Oh,
I mean, it's always a possibility, right?
Yeah.
Like just because of the utility you get from it. But I think in current meta, stationary mages are hard to pull off. ZTN gets the pass mainly because of the passive, because of the ability to kite with her skills a little bit. But overall, a lot of mages that don't have flickers, don't have big movement, are a danger to their team, you know?
I mean, let's look back at the picks that we know notably for both of these sides have proven to work. Lancelot, still a huge problem for either side, no matter who picks it up. I mean, we've seen that the Hayabusa is kind of meh, but Yishin Shin, also a very large problem. We've seen that within the first phase of both sides, Wan consistently gets banned out. We've seen, I would say arguably, the Farsa should be considered a part of that ban as well, if not at least the Kalia, one or the other.
Oh, okay, a lot of potential trades can come out here. We've mentioned some of the surprise picks to come out. Now, it's all momentum is on the side of RRQ that SRG really needs to dig deep and pull something out here. Do they go for assassins? I know we consider the Lancelot, but should they try to find a way to force RRQ to play back into just playing utility, playing a slower game? That there are times where we've seen SRG do play well around that as well, because Sekais can afford to be aggressive while at the same time not dying as much.
Well, let's start making the comparisons, right? What are the strong points of both of these teams? And I think the one thing that SRG knows that they are slightly better at compared to RRQ is when it comes to 5v5 team fights. In terms of raw macro, I think that RRQ is very good at kind of, well, not really simulating, but forcing SRG into forks, right? No matter what decision, you're going to lose something.
For me, I don't know. I think both teams bring it into the land of Dawn. I think a lot of it's going to come down to draft. I think it's going to happen before the game. I think SRG, one of their strong points is their versatility, their ability to kind of play a little outside of the box, be willing to draft things that other teams might not risk and make it work. To whereas RRQ, one of their strengths still is we can keep it simple, and we know how to hammer that simplicity in very, very well. You give us a straightforward draft with strong picks, and we are going to win the game with it.
Seems like the more we discuss this, if anyone's going to be showing up any surprise picks, this might be on the side of SRG, as we see the RRQ fans in the arena just dancing on and cheering on their team.
What's your command?
All right, okay.
There we go.
For a moment there, I was trying to process it. Wait a minute. Did we just go back in time? Or no, we're finally in the draft.
All right.
Game number 5.
SRG takes red side.
That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I was always looking for. Coach Arcadia knows what he's doing. And I think now that they've kind of played that mental chess game between Arcadia and as well as KezQ, they understand the power picks. I don't think RQ is going to change from their pattern in terms of bans, especially for the first two. Fanny's definitely going to go.
So here's the question for RQ. Do you ban out the Farza and look for the Jushin up front? If they still want to hunker down into that Jushin first pick blue side, I think they definitely ban out the Farza. We've seen them ban out the CC as well on blue side, not wanting to let Cram get it on the swing back. I think it's something we could see pop up. YSS, though, getting banned out from SRG.
Yeah, I think SRG needs to reconsider. Oh, they take away the CC. Good respect there. I think I want to see Yums end up not with the Kalea, but something along the lines of a Badang, Gatakacha, something that can break the tempo of RQ to force out dashes, to put them in awkward spots where maybe they dash in the wrong position. Because if RQ can fight comfortably, as we saw in game number 4, they're just unstoppable.
See, but that's the thing, right? Every single time we see Kalia let through, SRG is more than happy to either build their synergy around the Kalia pick, if not lean into something else. And I feel like the onus is on RRQ to get rid of it in the first place. I don't don't think they will. I think this is a key pattern that they want to take advantage of.
We have seen, though, that RRQ can deal with the Kalea a little bit. They were able to deal with the last game. I don't know if that's on the forefront of their mind right now, at least in terms of risk. There's ways to play around it. If they put something aggressive, they go for the Jushin ban first. So no, we want the Farza now. SRG now on the spot of, do we ban the Farza? Because if you don't, I got a feeling it's coming up front for RQ as that first side blue, for sure.
Yeah, I'm not going to deny that, dude. I'm feeling the same way right now. Juicing ban right away just signals as if RQ is trying to say, no, we want the Farsa right here, the first pick. Even more so now, though, RQ will have to think about, okay, my suggestion. What if SRG decides to put up Agatot Kacha and Badang in the hands of Yumes, or even for Cram, one of those two heroes? That makes the Farsa first side, first pick all the more questionable.
You just get purified, man.
Yeah, well,
you just get purified.
I mean, we did see the last game.
Even the heroes that counter her just seem to not do that much. I think the laning phase you get from
there we go.
First pick Farza. You got to. I think right now I've been saying this for the past month or two. She is the mage right now for me in the mid lane. She belongs in the ban pool or something like this. Now, red side, Kalea.
I think they let go of Kalea. I think you go straight into Gatot here, and then you're looking for an immediate answer down by the goal lane, which I'm thinking is probably going to be Granger.
Oh,
talk Granger.
Granger rush. I was thinking maybe a Moskov rush.
Well, either a Granger rush or we immediately lean into Lancelot, right? Because again, you want to afflict what is going to be coming out from the side of RRQ side. The problem is that if you show Lancelot, it's almost guaranteed to be Phoveus from RRQ.
Good call. The once you said Lancelot, I'm like, that's actually genius, because that's what RQ wants, I think, at this point. They do still have opportunity, though. They can still, because of what we know with utility, they can still pick up Fredrin here if they want. They have the burst damage behind it. Maybe they go for Granger Fred here and just kind of solid up. They have their damage, and then they can fill out the rest after.
Yeah, Granger Fred looks like two very powerful picks right now for RRQ. Do they lean into that? Sounded like a Granger. It's not a Fredrin. They go for the Phoveus first, which might come back to bite them, because SRG, if I'm SRG, I will be committing bans right away to Akai, Fredrin, take Susagen out of his comfort, put him in an assassin yet again.
Does SRG pick up EXP, though, here, before we see what happened last game where they get the glue or something against the Phoveus? They need something that's going to do okay in lane against the Phoveus, and with CC gone, it's like, what else do you have in the arsenal to really deal with that?
Honestly, if SRG has it, they can go Akai XP for Cram. It becomes quite even in trade. Sometimes you could slightly beat it, but then you have the heavy spin to mess up the Phoveus in the first place.
I don't disagree. I think that Akai is okay, but Glue is always the go-to in this matchup. I think Cram has played like thousands of games of Glue into the Phoveus every single time, and that's the risk that SRG is willing to take here, right? But this opens up a couple of possibilities. Now that we see what Toy is going to be playing, SRG, I think at this point are trying to figure out what is the mid pick that's going to be able to counter everything on the side of RRQ, and I think that's where we're going to see the flex pick. It might just be the Zitian all over again as a means, but we saw how game one went. It's a little risky.
You mentioned the Valentina earlier. At least you get the Feathered Airstrike with that pick. Much earlier in this day, I mentioned something like the Novaria, something to at least have big range.
Oh, yes.
And at least poke, and at least not ever be in range of the Farza. It's not going to clear, it's not going to maybe rotate as fast, but at least you have range and you have that backline arsenal.
Oh, they banned the Selena.
Selena would have been another long-range great pick.
Yeah, it's a really good prediction there by RRQ.
That's really smart. That's really smart. That means he has to go even further down the list of potential things to pick. You need burst. That's the problem. You need a lot of burst to make sure this Kalia pick is not wasted, and you need divers to jump in the backline. So they've already figured out their divers, right? They have a pseudo burst coming in from that Lancelot, assuming he gets his first two items. But now the big issue is whether or not you have somebody that can either clean up the fight, which potentially either the flex picks coming up from the side, but specifically Innocent is Roger, or is he just going to double down and be like, all right, I'm going to play Claude again. That way I can kind of like cut down on the tanks and more importantly so kind of bypass the Feathered Airstrike.
I think they could save gold for last pick. Aerthel's maybe a possibility, but they're I think RQ's on the same track of me of like they need a long range mage right now, something that can pop up. Kadita also still open, another pick that we've seen depending. but it's like, who do they pick first here? That's the hard thing for me for SRG. It's who do we want to try to get the last counterplay as?
I think RRQ is just going to end up with an Akai again, and then that will force SRG to go Valentina just so that they have the heavy spin on their side as well. So in a way, it's them getting an Akai without having to pick an Akai. But then you don't have the range. You are going to be getting uncomfortably close to the members of RRQ.
I think the call is on Innocent. Yep, there we go. Innocent will have to make the final call here, because at the end of the day, Stormy understands that his role is to try to maximize his value. But with this Beatrix pick, it now comes to, I must fight and I must execute well. Instant response. Joy and as well as the Gato to immediately look to punish this Beatrix.
That is tough. RQ this time, for my eyes, does seem a little ahead in terms of just predicting how SRG is going to approach this. SRG last pick, still need a mage.
Yeah, I think it has to be Valentina at this point. Not only can you get the Feathered Airstrike, you also get the ultimate of the Joy, as we've seen as one of the old responses to a Joy is you pick up the Electrifying Beats as well as a Valentina as your escape tool, sometimes as your engage tool.
But then you give up pressure over mid lane almost immediately. The 2v2 is not good in the earlier stages of the game, and it's like, oh sure, you survive, but Gato makes it obsolete, so they always get first move.
I wonder if they go something like Valir or Veil, something weird.
I'm thinking like Veil, Nana. I mean, Zetian's like, okay, but there we go. They go for the Kimmy this time around, at least to try and punish, put a brass tax on them. It's still hard.
All right, real quick, your vibe, is it SRG or RRQ, Gideon?
I'm thinking that RRQ have a much better lineup this time around.
Trex?
I like RRQ's draft overall. Not saying that SRG's isn't possible to pull off, but once again, they're in a spot where there's a lot of pieces, and it kind of has to work out perfect for them.
Our analysts have spoken and we are split. What does the arena feel like? Amazon Arena, is it going to be SRG or is it going to be RRQ? As we head into the decider, will the Kingdom get redemption or will SRG continue their push forward to their title? Brigida, Naisu, let's go!
Thank you so much once again to the panel here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's me, Naisu, and Brigida, to bring you our final match for this series. It all comes down to this one game. It's been one heck of a series already, a back and forth and some one-sided games, but that can all go behind us as both teams focus on this last and final one. Brigida, it seems like they're all for RRQ. What do you think here? Who's got the better lineup for this game 5?
I mean, beyond the better lineup, I'm also considering momentum because it does seem like RRQ are still riding off what happened in the previous game. And that reflects as early as 30 seconds into this deciding game. Yoon was already forced to recall and use the flicker. And if this happens time and time again, we might see another scenario of hesitation, which literally will be the biggest hindrance towards SRG playing their game, because it was already mentioned by our panelists as well. So many pieces have to come together for them to be able to pull off the better game.
It's been the case so far throughout the series, really. And a lot of that pressure still, you know, of course, like we said, the XP laners doing their part, and even down to the roaming potential, but it's going to be a little bit different because, you know, even in the gold lane, like the fact that this is a Beatrix in the hands of Innocent, this is going to be a different game than what a lot of people are used to seeing in the sense of usually Moskov in his hands. So now the game plan changes a bit for them. This whole series has been about team fighting, and this is one of the lineups that I feel like for SRG.OG Esports, to make it work, they have to be able to find the right timing for things. I mean, that has been the case anytime a Kalea is there, but then as well, it might be an early fight already.
Edok went in with the Unbreakable. Phantom Execution already committed by Sekaiza as well, but he doesn't get to find a kill onto Edok. Only the Revitalize was forced out of RRQ in that scenario.
That's all they got. They might still go for more. They put some pressure here on Rins.
Oh, Thorned Rose damages Rins a lot, but Sutsujin Electrifying Beats also deals back enough damage to SRG.OG. Such a good back and forth for both of these teams so far. No clear advantage just yet. It might happen here.
And a lot of this brings it to the first objective, the turtle. A charge up from Edok.
Oh, he flickered to go in, and the Feathered Airstrike. Things look so good for RRQ, but the objective falls into the hands of SRG.OG. AOG also committed by Edok as well, but they might not get anything more out of that.
it's crazy how the fight up at the top side of the map turned into eventually that turtle. Nice little take there from Innocent. But again, it's nothing too crazy. Yes, SRG got the turtle. That's fine. RRQ gets the first blood, though, and that goes in the hands of Dyrant. Again, a lot of the trending here for the XP laners is once they get that advantage, they play into it. But still, we're seeing how both these lineups, Ritz.
Oh, the Wings by Wings got cancelled, but still, he's alive. Like, you almost won't risk going in and potentially getting punished by RRQ, because right now they're the ones who need to do a bit of the catching up. RRQ are clearly in the lead right now. Fortunately, they're still able to somehow control majority of their lanes. Not too big of an advantage is handed over to any of the members of RRQ just yet. But the way things are going, it does seem like RRQ have less things to worry and think about. Like, whenever they decide to go in, they have ways to just constantly reposition themselves and get out. But now they decide to go in and commit onto the kill, maybe on Sekai, maybe on Cram, but he still has the puncture to get out. Now there is the mount coming in from Cram. They will find the kill on Dyrant instead.
Great job there from Cram to go ahead and bring Dyrant back. That's exactly why you pick up the glue in some of these instances where you can reposition for the team to take favor of that. So good play up there. He's going to get a little bit of extra damage on that turret, that extra gold that he needs to go ahead and build in on this glue. So Turtle will be up here shortly, but you know, going back to it, it's you got a couple purifies to go ahead and utilize if you're RRQ, and over on the other side, a lot of the work that they've been doing is getting those flickers down from SRG, and we could see the same thing happen from time to time before either team actually commits to the turtle. So right now, RRQ's got positioning, they've got that favorable option, but Sakai's on the Lancelot can just kind of join into this fight, and that's why they make their way here. Cram's going to zone out Rins for now, and RRQ will pull off, and he'll go for the reset.
It could have been a 3v3, but now SRG, it seems like they're all complete. Phantom Execution already committed. They just a slight reset, but still Sakai gets the last hit. There's a penetration coming from Innocent as well, and they get to burst down Zyron. They have to walk away. They already lost a member. Now SRG, this is where it works for them, and Innocent getting that kill. Massive, already granting him the early Blade of Despair.
Yep, good for him. He rotated on up. And I thought both gold laners would actually join that, but totally decided to do some extra damage to that mid turret. And the fact that the kill and the objective go over help now. Oh no! Stormy!
Such a well-coordinated attack from Sutsujin and Rins. The first hit from the Veteran Airstrike didn't land, so it wasn't an immediate stun, but Sutsujin was there either way to supply a bit more of damage. And now what Toy has been really trying to work on is finally handed over to RRQ. That's the first turret that's taken down in this game, and if RRQ are able to keep this up, this is way too similar to how they were able to establish that dominating lead in the previous game.
Oh, here we go, concealed from Yumes. He's going for it.
That's the Flicker title strike into the Medic Rage for Dyrant, gets bursted down once again. The Kalea Beatrix combo has been working too well for SRG so far in terms of getting the pickoffs, even in the tankiest heroes. But now Yumes still trying to go for it. Toy will just try to damage that tier 2 turret a bit, but they might have to walk away now. These are 4 members of SRG.OG who might try to go for the chase. Now they try to lock down onto EWC. Doesn't have a way out. No, actually has the AOG. Doesn't need a flicker or anything to just reposition out of there.
Well, they want this turret.
Yeah, but they might have to hand over this turret, not unless they really want to fight for it. Now EWC pays with his life.
A great shot from Innocent. I'm not sure if they'll get more, but they've been down on this bottom side of the map quite a bit. Good clearing up there on top too. Cram in trouble.
That's a decent amount of damage, but another Bennett's Rage to burst down Dyrant. Always the victim of the Bennett's Rage. Electrifying beats from Sutsujin, though nearly taking down Innocent, but he has the flicker. Phantom Execution doesn't land as well, and they just get a bit of information, but will have to let go of this turtle for now.
They fought really hard for all of this in the last minute. They spent so much time on this side of the map. They'll get the objective. They'll take a little bit more. Sakai's holding EWC here. And SRG, they're in a good position now. You're seeing where that power spike for them is starting to come online. Innocent is starting to be a problem. He's got the 3 kills now as well.
Yep. It's these 2 guys up top. It's Yums and Innocent.
It's the boys.
It's the boys. The way they're just so coordinated so far in this game, it's doing wonders for SRG.OG. I feel like this is the most coordinated we've seen them so far. Sutsujin barely surviving that. Sekai's will he decide to dash in once again? There's the electrifying beat! Just barely touches the Thorgros.
Hold on for a little longer because Sutsujin getting really close there. Endless battle now picked up for Sakai. So there's going to be a fight.
Oh, Tsunami Slam committed onto Dyron again, but has the flicker. Doesn't get to receive the Menace Rage this time, but again, Edoc's brought back, but has the AOG to also get away. So SRG aren't able to convert that into a kill yet again, but Toy, oh, decent amount of damage already coming in. Riz, wings by wings! Dodges the Renner's apathy. Such a close fight between these two so far.
I think they want more. They're going to be focusing on Cram. Now they want control of this tier 1 up top, but it should be cleared up. Sakai's is here. He's going to go for it.
Doesn't land the bad execution, but has enough damage to deal with Rins. Okay, who would have thought? SRG, even despite the situation, they have other members to rely on to go for the surprise attacks. And so RRQ, they might have to consider that and not be too complacent in terms of grouping up together, in as much as that's how they really utilize the strengths of their lineup.
Big item pickup here too for Cram. A Radiant Armor now available. Some of that magic resist going to play into the part. They're going to go for the slam.
Oh, Edok is the target once more here. Receives the Bennett's Rage once again and gets blasted by SRG.OG. That's a successful pickup for their team right as the Lord has spawned in the bottom lane. But if you look at majority of the other members or the teams, it's just pretty equal. It's mostly really on the EXP lane, which I feel SRG.OG was really keen on trying to shut down. Fast execution towards Rinse and Toy, but Dyron gets bursted down once again. Sutsujin goes in, but might just have to disengage. Innocent, he flickered in. He knew he had the damage.
He knew he had it, but now they don't have a jungler. And right now, RRQ, even without Dyron, they could go ahead, set things up for their favor. Unless SRG does something about it. AOG in the mid lane, Cram.
AOG to the face. Edok doing a great job at surviving and sustaining, but Sutsujin might come from the side, try to burst down a couple members here from SRG.OG. But now, Innocent with the Renner could only do so much. I feel like he just switched it a moment ago, so he couldn't dish out that much damage if he doesn't target it well enough. Oh, but he wasn't in the range of the Bennett's Rage. That saved Edok.
Sutsujin looking for more, gonna go under the turret with the beats, under the tier 1, but stopped in his tracks. And it has been a back and forth, all of this, between both the teams. But the positioning now for this Lord here is RRQ.
Yeah, I have to say the knockups coming in from Yums have been very, very crucial though. Either in looking for the targets to set up with a Tsunami Slam, or just to literally deny RRQ from chasing down the other members of SRG.OG, similar to what happened with Sutsujin earlier right now. But there's the Fettered Airstrike, another two-man knockup coming in from the Tidal Strike. Toy, unfortunately, is the first to fall for RRQ. You do not want that.
Sutsujin, he can still come in from that backside, but he's going to be stopped in his tracks. Cram will zone them out. It might come down to a retribution battle if they decide to go for it.
Oh, Rins, will he cast his ultimate right now? Gets threatened here by Sakai as he goes in. AOG out for Edok, but they find the kill on Dyron. Now Sutsujin might not find the right angle to go in anymore. He's only left alone here as SRG take the Lord.
A great team fight, a great juggle around that Lord for SRG. They did lose the Holy Shield up top to the minions pushing in, but nonetheless, they won that fight. They get the objective. We'll take a look at the instant replay again from STC. This was really good. They zoned out the right members of this fight. Sutsujin didn't have an angle to go for it. I mean, he sees Cram and he's like, I can't go for this. And then they held that Lord from going into a complete reset to be able to secure it. And now they're at the base of RRQ.
Yep. That pull yourself together for Yums is becoming such a problem. Like, he almost always has his flicker to threaten RRQ, to keep them on their toes, and for Rins to just not be able to dish out the Fettered Airstrike. as often as he wanted to. Even in that moment where he has the vision on the objective, he just couldn't because too many members of SRG.OG could decide to dive in at any given moment. And I feel that that's what makes up majority of the idea of their lineup too. It's literally formation breakers for SRG.OG.
Man, if we look at this, the items too, you know, Dyron, what a roller coaster of a series.
Yep.
Like this game, he's been pretty much just stopped. He is a punching bag for SRG.OG Esports to go ahead and utilize because he has been constantly picked off. He doesn't have much defense at all. You know, he's got the blade armor, but that's about it. And a little extra defense. Now that might be somewhat okay in consideration he's playing a Phobius, but if you're picked off with the Tsunami Slam and then immediately deleted, then the value of you being the XP laner, being that kind of front body other than Edok, puts Edok in that situation where a lot of times he's the one trying to get away, disengage with the Avatar of the Guardian instead of engaging with it. So it's been a really good just decision-making from SRG to play around the fact that, you know, they have this Kalea and even down to the Traction Pulse, but also the fact that Cram is just so damn tanky that you can't really deal too much with him. And he's built this glue up really well. He's also now got an Immortality. I mean, look how much damage this guy has taken.
Yeah.
He can basically go 1v5 on the glue and be okay for the most part, until RRQ gets to the point, itemization-wise, where they catch up. Now, how long is that? Probably another 5 minutes or so. Like, they need to get there. At least for Toy, he is on par with Innocent. And imagine, Innocent's got 5 kills. That's really good for Toy, but if he's taken out early, you lose a lot of that.
Cyclone Eye into his death! Dyron did not anticipate that, but Sekais, they find the kill onto Toy as well. So Sujin gets to trade out Sekais, but that's an exchange of 3.
It's a 3-to-1 trade, Brigida, right now. SRG, they know the shield is down. They're going to push into the base turret.
Oh, Purify already used there by Rins. He had to dodge the traction pulse. Conceal coming in from SRG.OG. They only want